Hi, everybody, and welcome to another night where we do one of these things where I have a bunch of friends and we talk about a TTRPG with each other. This is plus one shoot the shit. Plus one shots, unofficial, super cool time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You might notice that
exactly what he said.
you might notice that I have two of the illustrious cast members of Splinters of Faith with me. To my immediate stage right is Charles. Yeah.
Hello,
And then
I am
to
here to the right.
Yeah. And then to my stage right, and his stage right, but not me. I
Mm.
would be his stage left. And we have Philip.
That's me. I'm over here on the stage side.
Yeah, whichever one that was.
So for anybody who isn't aware, the premise of Shoot the Shit is this is our talk show on our channel, and we like to just find different topics. Our last topic was cursed TTRPG tales, and it only took me an embarrassing amount of time to put that video up after we recorded it live, and it's there now if you want to go see that, hear about some of our backstories for the different games that we've played and what molded us into the players that we are today. But also what we love to talk about on these, or at least what I love to talk about on these, is system shots, which is our little vignettes where we take a system that we want to play eventually and try to basically sell it to the other players at our table. But mostly also I feel sometimes some of these games don't get the love that they deserve, and
Mhm.
so we try to explain them out, talk about them, discuss what we think is really interesting, things like that. Just give a unique perspective.
Other systems aren't scary.
Other systems are not
Mhm.
scary. This system is a little scary. I'm not gonna lie.
There's more to this world than just D&D.
Yeah, very
Yes.
true. Speaking of which, we have some news stories. Charles, do
Sure.
you want to take it away?
Yeah. So I don't know whenever anybody is watching this, if anybody is watching this, hello, please help me. Anyway,
Well, wait, calm down. These
anyway,
people are here of their own
as we
volition.
were,
Do not believe anything else
yeah,
they say about it because it's a trick.
yeah, it's not true. So going on, so while we were just about to go live, which we are completely on time, don't check it. Um, I saw an email that Draw Steel from, well, here,
You wore
MCDM.
the shirt and it
Uh,
happened.
I know, I don't know. I was just like, what shirt am I going to wear? I'll wear
I'm
the
go-
MCDM one.
I'm
And
gonna
then,
tell you right now. I was a toss up between MCDM, but honestly, I have to do this one because
right.
um I'm
Mm.
I'm playing a lot of Magic the Gathering lately, and I'm super excited for the Wolverine Secret Lair that's gonna come out here shortly and steal
Right.
all of my monies.
Yeah, I saw some Final Fantasy stuff in the far future, and I went, don't do that to me.
That's next
But
year.
anyway,
Good luck.
I don't want it because I'll
No.
probably want it. But Draw Steel
Hmm.
is a thing, and patrons of it now have a new packet as of 26 minutes ago. Um, it seems to be big. So the first one, we're not going to go too far into this because we'll probably have a show about it. First one had 5 classes. The conduit, which is basically the cleric. Yes, I think so.
It's
The
a
elementalist, which is a
it's a
mage.
Clarapella Druidin.
Yes.
Mm.
And said to be the best class. We'll see. Um, the elementalist, which is the mage. The fury, which is the barbarian type. Shadow, which is a kick-ass magic
Which is
thief.
the actual
And it's
best class, brokering
absolutely,
absolutely no discussion.
yeah. And then the tactician, who's the cool warrior, but with tactics. So now in this packet, you also get the censor. Yes, censor. I want to say it that way so you know how it's spelled. It's not censor, even though it's the same thing.
I'm sure
But
when we hear it come out of James or Matt's lips,
yeah,
it will also be the censor.
the censor, because it just makes sense. Anyway, I think that's the paladin. I think so. I think
Oh.
that's like the holy fuck you class. Don't do what you're doing. But I'm not
Huh.
entirely sure because I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Then the null, which is objectively the best class, and I haven't even seen it because it's the monk.
Mhm.
I cannot wait.
Right.
I cannot wait
Well,
to
I'm
read
gonna
this.
hold you here for a few hours, so you don't get to go look at that yet. And if I catch you
Yep.
peeking,
But then next is the talent, which is the telekinetic
which was the
mage-like
second
class.
one I think they released, maybe the
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
because I think
It
the
may have
talent is
been.
also technically a 5e thing that they
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
They did do that, yeah. And then the troubadour, which I have to tell you that's the bard? Like,
I cannot wait to see
maybe?
Colville's take on a bard. That
Yeah,
to me sounds interesting because I
yeah.
love the way
Same.
that he explained bards in his stories,
Hmm.
and I hope to see some mechanics that speak to that.
Right. Right. The whole like you can control the way people feel about other people, and that way you get more power. You know, you're the storyteller. But so more classes, that's gonna be great. New of all the things, right? Like downtime rules. So the first time that they're showing the downtime rules, which will be interesting.
Ooh.
Um, changed a bunch of stuff to uh I think they also just added more titles. So this was like a bolt on to your class to make you
Oh
stronger.
yeah.
And treasure, so new gear, I think, and then new perks, which are like non-combat thingies.
So
Um,
so they've fallen
you
away
know,
from the templates and they're actually
yeah,
just giving gear now. I felt
yes,
like that might
and
be a thing just because people like loot. It's
well,
part of gaming.
they're still the kits, but
Yeah.
I don't know how they go together. Like that's something we'll have to see. But yeah, that's it. There's a whole lot more, but hey, if you're a patron, it's in your email. Go look at it. We'll talk about it in a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'll definitely be something we talk about and or maybe play a little bit of. So
Yes,
we'll
I
get
am on the hook for that, and I will do so.
you
Very
are on
cool.
the
Very
hook
cool.
for that.
Yes.
But tonight you're
Yes,
on
I
the
am.
hook for this. We're talking about Girl by Moonlight. This is a game that is published through Evil Hat Games, and it is made by Andrew Gillis. This is a game that I first saw when I was watching a lot of live plays, and it
Mm,
was on a channel that doesn't really exist anymore. I'm not going to go into much detail about that, but the
mm,
point of it remains is that there was a play of Monster Heart on the channel, and then I can't speak directly to Andrew Gillis's motivations or mission statement, but they have gone on record many times as explaining basically they love a lot of the concepts in Monster Heart, but wanted to make it into something that was more meaty. And
mm,
so like you're gonna see some things if you're at all familiar with how Monster Heart works, you're gonna see some things that are very jiving, kind of one for one with that system, but with a little tweak and a little more impetus into it. So like instead of like threads, there are links and they are beneficial for you and your party members and things
mm.
like that. And I watched a few of the play tests, and then it got almost completely revised because rather than working off of, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Monster of the Week or if it was Powered by the Apocalypse that they were going with first, but then they decided to pivot into Blades in the Dark.
Yeah.
Powered in the Dark is I want to say what the system type for that is.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Born in
Or
the Dark.
Forged in the
Forged
Dark,
in the Dark. That's the one. So I
I think.
believe it's a Forged in the Dark game. And if it's not, it's
Yeah, Forged
very
in the Dark.
strongly, yeah, based on Blades in the Dark.
Yep.
So it is a Forged in the Dark system. And first thing I want to say about this is, hey, do you like just pretty books for TTRPGs? This is a gorgeous freaking book. And I think nothing more than my favorite part of it that I've seen so far is that there's a lot of gorgeous art in it. And I'm gonna see if I'm made a liar immediately here. Oh wait, hold on. I grabbed the
Oh
wrong
no.
way. There we go. Now we're still good. If you go all the way to
Everything's
the
fine.
back of the book, blinding everybody. Apologies. Would you look at that? They have a whole page dedicated to all the different artists that contributed to the work.
Oh, who knew?
Look,
Very
look,
nice.
look at
Very
that.
nice.
That's crazy. You could just shout out your artists who contribute. You can give them an entire page devoted to a book that they have drawn probably no less than a third of the pages for. Like, that's kind of, I would say, we should make that bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, obviously, if there's so many artists that you can't, but the absolute like one-on-one shout outs, because something that they did
Yeah.
for this book is all of the different playbooks have like a different artist who was the one who did the tone and the setting and everything for them, and I love that. It's so good.
Mhm.
I agree. It does. The art style, it switches around. When I first was reading through the book, I was a little bit like, I don't want to say like surprised, but I was trying to like, what happened? But then once you realize that it's like the characters and the themes are what is changing it, it makes sense. It looks really good.
Mhm.
It's a little bit jarring at first until you realize that it's shorthand for telling you which system that art lives in.
Right.
For the different,
Mhm.
basically, splat books that you have, which are behind me, and we'll be talking about those because the systems, what is it called specifically? The series playbooks are so good in this system.
Mm.
And we're going to talk about those a little bit. So, I have talked about this game. I've referenced this game no less than I think 20 times on this channel, just basically
We've
saying,
teased you a lot,
yeah, but
and we're sorry for that.
no, you're fine. It's a system that I thought if it weren't for the fact that everybody was really enjoying the Teens with Attitude system,
Mm.
and this came out finally, like I think 6 months after we wrapped Teens with Attitude.
Mm.
Had this been out, I would have pushed for this.
Mm.
Because I really think that this system has a lot more legs and a lot more grit and a lot more like nitty gritty detail than Teens with Attitude
Yeah, I can see that.
has. I had to do a lot of work to make that system be more inclusive, whereas with this, it's baked in.
Mm.
And thankfully, it finally came out in 2023. It had some pretty good acclaim. It's a gorgeous book. I believe it might have hit an Emmy. I did not check, and I usually do. I apologize for that. But this book has been 6 years in the waiting for me. So now that it's finally here, the timeline gets a little blurry.
Mm.
But so I want to go ahead and just do our quick breakdown stuff that we do. Let's talk about the engine of this game. The engine of this game is very much built on the back of it's built with the Forged in the Dark system. So the way that this game works, for the players of the game, it is typically 5, but I think it could stretch to 6 pretty easily. With the group of 4 protagonists and 1 director. Yay, we have the funny name GM.
Yep.
The core
Yeah, I
dice.
was trying to check the NE. I do not believe so.
Okay.
But I think they were nominated. Yeah.
I think they were definitely nominated for layout,
Yeah.
art, and design.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's a good book. I would say that the only thing that I could I'll thorns it later. But let's give a bunch of roses first. As you would say, Charles. The core dice system is roll X D6, keep highest 1. And the way that system works is a much more, I would say, a less forgiving version of Powered by the Apocalypse, rather than having you roll 2d6 and add a modifier. There are no modifiers in this game. The modifier is how many dice you roll.
It's an interesting system. Yeah, it's kind of reminds me a little bit of the White Wolf system. There's where the more skills you have, the more d10s you would roll.
Yeah, and then rather than like adding a plus bonus or anything to that, you just have the ability to keep the highest, and there are just a bunch of modifiers left or right that take away or grant you dice depending on what you're doing in a certain scenario. And so then we get to the stats, and for this is about the most in-depth that this goes, and I have to explain it out because it's pretty it's a lot. Your stats are split into 3 attributes: your sun, your moon, and your stars. There are 9 different stats, 3 per attribute. Sun has defy, emphasize, or empathize and express. Moon has confess, forgive, and perceive. And stars has analyze, conceal, and flow. So, do you want to try some tomatoes?
Oh my god. After
I'm
we
kidding.
go through them.
It's a
After
joke.
we go
It's a joke.
through them.
It's a joke.
No, I certainly will.
So
Don't you test me.
And
But
so it is split into, and the thing is, these are not so much stats as they are actions. These are the actions that you have available to you as a player. And so it's right there on the tin. It's like, what do you want to do with your turn, rather than being like, all right, where's the action chart? And for this particular version of Powered by the Apocalypse, it goes, it's those things. You choose one of them.
I'm gonna have the tomato by the end of this.
Okay, well, so I can go ahead and I'll just read verbatim, because I actually do really
Sure.
love these. Confess to start is: when you confess, you expose the inner world of your thoughts and feelings to another. You might reveal to someone that it was you who left anonymous gifts at their doorstep. You might admit to a friend that you were once a servant of an evil empress. You could try, and these are the things I love. They also give a counter example of, this is similar to this in this way, but this might be better. So it says, you could try to use your feelings to change someone's mind, but express might be better.
Okay.
Then you have forgive. When you forgive, you show that you care for someone despite a mistake they have made. You might offer a chance of reconciliation to a friend that wronged you. You might embrace a monster that was once human in the hopes that it might be human again someday. You could try to offer an olive branch to someone to gauge their feelings, but empathize might be better. You have perceive. When you perceive, you see the world as it presents itself without judgment. You might observe someone and note their daily routine. You might see the beauty present in even the darkest and strangest corners of the world. You could try to figure out what a complicated machine does, but analyze might be better. And it goes on with those examples. So express is use words with an agenda in mind. You might teach someone a valuable lesson about friendship. You might convince a longtime rival to work with you for a time to solve a shared problem. So that's basically your charisma, or one factor of your charisma. These are split out pretty strongly. Defy is you muster your courage and face opposition head on. You might stand up to a bully, fixing them a stern glare. You might unleash your mightiest attack against a dangerous foe. Empathize is, I think, probably one of the coolest ones. When you empathize, you understand a person intuitively and feel their emotions as if they were your own. You might listen to someone's story and gain an understanding of their perspective. You might touch a horrifying monster and feel the frightened heart that beats within it. For conceal, you hide your true intentions and feelings. This is not stealth. You might pass unnoticed, or it is stealth, but also it is, all of these stats split the difference of being physical and emotional. So it's you might pass unnoticed as just another face in the crowd. You might choke down your true feelings and lie to someone. When you flow, which is the next one, you move with grace and adapt to your circumstances. You might leap across a gap to reach safety. You might act in accordance with others' expectations. Analyze. When you analyze, you search beyond the surface presentation of the world and discover secrets. You might study an ancient book for information on magic rituals. You might discern a gap in your foe's defenses. Those are our 9.
Yeah. See, using the tomato analogy is only difficult because they are dual purpose, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Honestly,
no.
I could start, like conceal. This to me also could be you trying to lie, right? Maybe conceal the truth about tomatoes being a fruit in a fruit salad that's tomato based.
Yeah.
Maybe. Flow is definitely dodging, right? There's a little bit of dodging in there, but not really, right?
Right.
It's more like, it's very interesting that they have these in this way, because a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse is so straightforward.
Yeah.
And so not multi-purpose. But
I think it's
needs to be, right?
I think it's interesting that they wanted to focus on stats, right? I mean, stats may be the wrong word, but actions that have a strong emotional or like mental component to them. Each one of them clearly can state what its mental or emotional aspect is part of it.
Yeah.
Like you may think like dodge is good for a thing like when you're in combat, but there's no mental dodge, right? Like that doesn't really exist in most things. In this one, they do.
Right.
And so they defy, is both a physical defense and an emotional or mental type of defense of how you could stand up to someone staring you down.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting as a thought exercise, and it's very daunting, I want to say, in
Sure.
execution. Because usually you
can
tell a
feel that.
person you have 5 stats. This game is telling you have 9 stats and they're all dual faced.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
yeah.
Sun, Moon, and Stars don't really tell you anything about what the collection of them mean. You kind of have to reverse engineer. So you look at Defy, Empathize, and Express, and you look at Sun, and you're like, is that because they're more outward? You know, like
So
Defying is a big action. Go ahead.
they do give you
Yeah.
a bit. What they say on page 34 is for the attributes, the protagonist used them to resist negative consequences. So, Charles, these are your 3rd edition saves.
Yeah.
And so, Sun represents a character's compassion and resolve. Roll Sun when you resist
Mhm.
consequences of violence and fear.
Got you.
Moon represents character's sincerity and clarity. Roll Moon when you resist consequences of despair and heartbreak. And then Stars represents your character's cleverness and elegance. Roll Stars when you resist a consequence of panic or social pressure.
Mm.
So Stars would kind of almost be your. I mean, it doesn't really 1-for-1 to
Yeah, it
3rd
can't.
edition
Yeah.
because like 2 of them are basically your will save,
Yeah.
but
Different ways.
yeah, and one is Sun is almost certainly con. So
Yes. Right.
Mhm.
so it's almost like a con will. What was the other one?
I was gonna say, if you could move to show page 34,
Sure, I can.
people at home can see
Sorry.
how they do that, because you start with 2 stats, basically. 2 of the 9 you get a point in, and then depending on which of those stats you have depends on which one you have. So if in the it was 34, so if you have a point in confess and a point in perceive, both of those fall under moon. Therefore, you have 2 points for your moon defense.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you have nothing in the others.
Yeah,
Right.
and the first point matters for your attribute. So it doesn't matter how far you buff up, which is good because without being transcendent, you only have at max 2 in anything. And that's another thing I like about this system is it's very flat. Even though there's a lot of complication and nuance to it, it's very much a system that says you're going to roll this many dice. It's not going to be 20.
Yeah.
At most, it's 4, and then there are some other baseline modifiers that you can do for these sorts of things. But they're not gonna. You're not gonna sit with a full clutch. You're not gonna have to pull out an entire thing of chess X, like mini D6s and start going to town. That's not what this is.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can see there, since they have 1 point in confess and 2 points in perceive, their moon would be 2. And so that's their ability to resist for despair and heartbreak. So it's like, don't be sad, don't be scared, don't be pressured, basically.
All right.
So
just brand new. It just sounds very passive so far, and I know that that's not true, but I just wanted to say that so that you could prove me wrong.
As
all
far
about
as
defense so far, resisting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as you play, of course, you'll the dice roll come into play when you want to do specific things on a mission, and then you will of course face consequences for those actions, and this is it.
It's nice because rather than the way that, and this might just be a Blades in the Dark thing, I'm not sure, but I love this feature of I don't just have you roll and then tell you when you miss a roll, well, you screwed up, so here's what you do. I say, okay, well, this is happening to you now, so now you need to roll a save.
Right.
Basically. Which is more active than it was in like Teens with Attitude, where it was just like, oh, well, you rolled a 2. Sorry, you're gonna take some damage.
Yeah.
Or get a stat down. Or
it feels very director driven, right? Instead of it just by language, right? Because you would look at this, you would see that it's focused on how you defend against, and that would make your players think about it in a different way rather than there's a right answer for most damage per turn. this already looks like, no, you're just dealing with what is happening, right?
Yeah.
Instead of looking for that, pressing that like, oh, I need this many dots because I need to do this much damage. It's just interesting in that way.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that's very interesting about this system is that it does stress that it's like you're not just out here to deal a bunch of damage. You're also trying to. This is a magical girl, at its core, and so with that being the case, you, oh yeah, sorry. With that at its core, it's essentially giving you you're trying to take these monsters and humanize them. Basically, you want to, if you were able to resolve this through drama rather than resolving this through action, that would be one of the core conceits of this.
Yes.
That said, it does feel like Defy is definitely the punch stat of the group.
Yeah, definitely.
But even still, you have at best 2 in it.
Right.
So.
And you're not even necessarily trying to attack the enemies. Like, you don't necessarily need to assault them to win. It could, one of the whole playbooks could be, or is about knowing that the enemy still has a human heart, and that you need to find that to save them. And
sometimes
beating them up doesn't help. Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about Under a Rotting Sky later.
Interesting. Yeah, so, it's things like that where you want to try and save these people, depending on the story, of course, and that's something that the players will all decide when they start.
Yeah. And so that's the baselines of the mechanics so far. There are more mechanics added, obviously, as playbooks are introduced, because one of the main parts of the engine is all the different playbooks that exist for the game, whether it's for the series or for the character archetypes themselves. I do believe there, I want to say 6, maybe more characters.
What, the starting playbooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have them right here. So 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah,
so a nice chunk.
Yeah, so just to go through, just because I know that this is something that always draws me to a game, is okay. Absolutely. So what can I do, right? So the first one, and these playbooks are kind of like the popular kid, the weird kid, that, if you know, Powered by Apocalypse, and specifically Teens with Attitude. But so the first one is the Enigma. It doesn't have the, I'm putting the in there anyway. Enigma, the mysterious character that helps the others while hiding who they are, even from their allies. Do you want to, James? How you are pretty familiar with Magical Girl? Yes, no?
Oh yeah. We can do some referencing if you want.
Yeah, sure. So who would you think an Enigma would be? I mean, we can stay Sailor Moon because that's what most people will have seen. It's
Tuxedo Mask. This is literally Tuxedo Mask.
Absolutely.
And
without a doubt.
There's a few others that I think pop the bubble of that, like, because there's it's very interesting for this playbook. And one of the things that I love about all these playbooks is they start you off and say, you begin with an ability, and this ability is like your core feature. So for the Enigma, it is Behind the Mask. This ability is your transcendent and mundane selves lead separate lives, and no one knows they are the same person. Your transcendent self wears a mask. Describe it.
Sailor V.
And then it asks basically a few questions for you to figure out for yourself. How do you fit into the group, mundane and otherwise? What do you do? And how do you... But the whole premise of the Enigma is you have to come at it from the, nobody knows that I'm this thing. They just, I'm their friend.
Which is fun. That's a good way to start RP.
It has so much RP potential on its own, and it is just so strongly, all of these playbooks, a lot of times there are games that do their best to not handhold you and not tell you what you're supposed to do with the thing that's in front of you. They're just like, figure it out yourself. It's super fun. This game is very much about, hey, we're telling a magical girl story, so here's the magical girl archetype, and here's how it works. You should do this.
They're very upfront.
And the drama is not you figuring out how to well, the drama is in you figuring out how to make it your own and how that ends up interacting with all the other players. And something that's really nice about this is you get, I believe to start, you get one mundane ability and you get one transcendent ability. I want to say is how the character building works. So
I just have to list up.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Phil?
So you get 2 special abilities.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, behind the mask, and then there's a list of 5 others that you can
and you choose
pick
one
from.
more. So you get your default, and then you get one more. And then I believe you get a transcendent ability to start.
Yep. And then your transcendent, which once you have transformed, you will get another ability, one of 3.
Yeah. Which I think that a lot of these are just so flavorful. It's great. Just like looking through all of this, it's like it's modifiers on top of things. But like, for example, the transcendent ability, the big reveal. The moment you transcend, you may choose to immediately disappear and may reappear at any time in the place of your choosing, which is very much like that one ability from Fabula Ultima where the rogue is just like, I'm going to peace out of this scene.
Yeah.
See ya.
I'll come back.
I can come back whenever I want. I'm just saying right now, I'm not here.
Bye.
It's that perfect ability to be like, I need to be behind them, or I need to be over here to do this thing.
Yeah.
To give my monologue, I need to be here.
Yeah.
Which is another one of the abilities. So watch this. You can choose one of the following: superhuman feat of athletics, or deliver a monologue without anyone interrupting you.
Literally says, you are allowed to deliver a monologue. No one can stop you. That's the ability. That's the whole thing.
It gives away the game right there. That's what you play this game to do.
Yeah.
Yep. So next playbook, at least in order of this list that I have, is the Stranger. Yeah.
Yep.
The character that doesn't connect with others as well as they do with things. So the kind of like tech savvy person, or maybe animal lover, but not, I don't know if I want to. Yeah, I'm going to call animals things. Don't at me.
Yeah.
They're not people in this situation. So yeah, they're things.
Makes me one of the things they recommend or say that they gain inspiration from was Serial Experiment Lane.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's all about computers and tech, not people.
Yeah. I'm sure you could do books. I forget what show that was.
Read or Die.
Yeah, Read or Die. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that, but yeah, like it is a strong archetype.
And the other thing to note about that archetype is that the coding for it in this game is especially poignant because for this game, all the monsters are basically pseudo-human. So this, I believe this archetype is specialty able to the things feel. You can empathize with non-human things as if they were people. If you use this to gather info, you may ask questions from any playbook currently in play.
Wow.
So basically, you're able to interact with anything that you want that is not a person.
That can be incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Things in this game aren't strong in the typical sense, but strong in effective sense, right? Like, yes, it's not going to help you do more damage, whatever, but it's going to help you navigate the challenges of the game in that way.
One of the things I think is fairly interesting about this, I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but each character sheet, they have their own information gathering. So say for the Stranger, there are 6 questions that they can ask.
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, oh, who's behind this? If you're the Stranger, you can ask like, what might happen if I do something? Who or what here is isolated or alone? What is hidden here? Like, there's a very specific set of questions that everybody gets, and they're all different. So the Stranger can ask a question from any playbook.
Right. Okay.
And
in play. So
not only that, but it
Yeah,
puts
someone
everything
has.
at your fingertips. So like going to, let's see, it's a series reference, this director play sheet. So if we go to like one of the character sheets, so this is the Enigma. On the Enigma, it gives you all the potential abilities you can have, and then I think it gives you your questions too, right? Yeah, it gives you your gather information right there, and then it gives you all
Mhm.
the different teamwork stuff you can do, how you can bonus die push yourself or accept a poison promise. I want to talk about poison promises. I love them very much. And then it shows you where you start with the single stats that you always start with like the Enigma.
Mm.
So it's a single sheet that really does give you everything that you basically need to have, because you already see all of your actions at the sun, moon, and stars. You see all the different little things that you can do, and your gather information is all of the questions that you specifically are allowed to ask for gather information.
hmm
Which
and I think it's
again,
it's interesting
it
because
takes
it's
all
supposed to.
this noodly shit that you are not exactly a fan of, Charles, and
Mhm.
it puts a codified set of rules to it.
Which is nice.
Mhm.
That's good.
Because they feel that certain people think and sort of feel and think in a certain way, and that's how their questions would be structured.
Yeah.
If you're a stranger to feelings, you're not going to ask questions about feelings. You're not going to try and get motives because that's alien to you.
The Enigma, two of their questions. One is, who here is keeping secrets? And the other is, where can I stay hidden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's basically, it's like giving, these character sheets are so focused on what the feel of that character type should be, and I think they really do an interesting job. I have not seen enough of it in practice. I've watched like a
Mm.
few let's plays of it, but it's it's certainly like, if you're an Enigma, you are an Enigma. You're not just going to be like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
zany and everybody knows who I am. It's like, no, that's not how it works. The playbook literally says no one knows who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So the stranger, that's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Next is the time traveler.
Yeah.
Someone who knows what happens in one version of the future and is trying to change things. That's cool.
Yeah.
Just to
I
start, that's
I
very
have
cool.
you pegged as this or one other
Oh yeah,
in terms of what you think, what you would like and enjoy. The time
that would be
traveler
fun.
The time traveler is definitely interesting, and the fun thing about it, I think, is that um they basically cheat the rules in a lot of their abilities.
Mm, I see.
And
Is
all of
that
their
why you
questions.
think I would like that? Because I don't, because I want to break the rules. Is that what you're saying?
No, why would I
Yes,
think that?
100%.
Okay, sure.
Transcendent ability, clock stopper. If
Uh-huh.
ever there is a question of who acts first, it's you. Once permission, when the director advances a clock, you may say no, and the clock does not advance.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
The
It's
bomb is ticking down. No, it's not.
no, it's not. I got us here in time because I knew where it was.
yeah,
Is that why
exactly.
you don't want me to? Yeah, okay. I see now. I rescind my
I didn't
statement
say
earlier.
that I didn't want you to. What I said is I think you would enjoy, because
Yeah,
being
that's
able
fun.
to directly just gainsay clock manipulation is such a fun ability in games that directly use them, like Fabula
Right.
Ultima, like Blades in the Dark. Like being able to just at one point just grab the mechanic by its hand and say, "You're
Mm-hmm.
not doing that right now. You're going to do what I tell you to do because it says so on my character sheet."
Mm-hmm. Right. And it kind of gives you that space for people who really like to get into a system to figure out how to get those advantages or make a compelling character. Like the system having enough meat. Wow, I'm going to regret this analogy. Enough meat to grab onto. I don't know
Mhm.
why I did that, but I did. But you know,
Nobody's in
something
chat.
to
Someone clip it, please. Sorry. Please
to
continue.
kind
You're saying something very poignant and I like it.
but having those sort of handles or knobs to adjust in the system to express your mastery of it is
Yeah.
kind of what I feel is the juice sometimes in these TTRPGs for me, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to do the right answer if there is a right or wrong answer, but I need to know that I'm interacting and finding new things that are cool, right? And yeah, Powered by the Apocalypse in general usually is just so noodly that it doesn't give me that feel.
Yeah.
Right? It's not al dente. These noodles are very noodly.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Does the
Are you okay?
me? Yeah, no, I'm fine. I
Yeah.
just had a little bit of a
Okay.
drinking big
I
old
thought you
tea.
were
So.
enjoying my noodle analogy, but
No,
that's
I did enjoy your noodle analogy. In fact,
okay.
I thought it was very. I can't think of a noodle word to say that's like good.
Flaccid?
No, that's
Oh yeah, the opposite.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Sorry for the time traveler.
So something I
Yeah.
do want to point
Oh,
out that
sure, before we
we're
go.
kind of skipping about all of these is that there
Sure.
is an ability that I don't think you guys necessarily understand that is on the front page. It's called Eclipse.
Yeah.
So the way that this game works
Bad.
is if you look at the character sheet, you'll notice that right under your character information, your name, your true name, role, that's only for the Enigma. Everybody else just has a name. Your name, your role, your
Yeah.
background, your obligation, your promises, and your look. You'll see a little bar that says stress, and that is the red part. And you're like, oh, okay, my health bar. And you would be right. Because the way that this game works is your punishments, besides getting levels of harm, which Philip, you know from City of Mist, there are
Yes.
you can get harms at level 1, 2, or 3, and they have varying effects. But stress is what you do as your millstone in this game. And something that I absolutely love about this game, I'll go into when we talk about the phases of play, because Charles, there are codified phases of play for every part of this game.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
It
I'm
tells
not
you, where you're going to be and what you need to do next. For the director,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask about a grid because I know the answer to that.
No,
no. I know. It's fine. It's okay.
Sorry, can't have everything. But no,
It's fair.
so if you look at the stranger, but either way, when you, just to describe the mechanic, when your stress gets to 10 and you would take any more stress, you instead roll for eclipse. And if you eclipse, you turn into, basically, it's like the equivalent of the Monster Hearts Your Darkest Self.
Okay. Yeah.
But what happens when that happens is now you're at 10 stress. You can no longer gain stress. And when you would gain stress, you instead lose it.
Okay.
If
so you have
make
to
it back down to 0, your character is retired.
Oof.
And that's the end.
So on the one hand, 20 stress instead of 10. That's cool.
Yeah.
On the other, you're in a dangerous spot after that. And so,
yes,
technically.
So for the stranger, it gives you an example. When you are in eclipse, no more wasting times with friends or feelings. They just get in the way. It's time to focus on something real and tangible, something that makes sense. You find a concrete, rational, and entirely impossible task to pursue to the exclusion of all else.
Okay.
Now, it does have a way to be saved.
You can escape eclipse.
Good.
Yeah. Let's see. I think I can just pull down to it. Do not believe that
It should be the next line of it.
Well, I'm trying to find it on the sheets that I have showing. Time traveler. There's stranger. So, let's see. I think it's on the character sheet, right?
It's just the next sentence.
It's transcendent ability. That's that.
Nope. So it's in the red part. Yep. It's
okay, there we go. Stress eclipse. And you escape eclipse when someone works alongside you on your task without judgment, and you let that task go incomplete and unresolved. So basically, in order to get mechanically out of danger zone for your character, you have to RP. RP is the
With
only
another player.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that as a premise.
Yeah.
Because this game says, here's a bunch of RP prompts that have mechanics behind them that you have to complete, or else you're going to be in trouble.
I really like that idea. The only, I guess, the only fault or downside I can see when we were doing Teens with Attitude, we would occasionally run into the issue where it was like, oh, someone's in trouble, let me help them. And you'd have a stat that helped them. You're like, okay, what was it, like Get Real With, or I think was what it was called?
Yeah.
And it would turn out to be like, okay, I'm going to as the Blue Ranger, I'm going to get real with the Red Ranger and take and help them. Oh, okay, what are you getting real about?
Yeah.
Well, what was the problem? They were attacked. I'll tell them that not everybody can dodge everything all the time. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
sure.
So-
They're saved.
Do you think that that
Hooray.
applies to this too, though? Or are you saying this is different?
I say I'm hoping it doesn't apply. Like, you know, because there has to be something that the characters do. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, I feel that there could be hand waving just to make it be like, oh, we have to save them. We don't want them to retire. Just hand wave the RP and be like, I talked to them and I convinced them to do this thing. And the other player's like, yep, I'm convinced. I'm saved.
I'm happy now.
I'm happy now. Yeah, you know. But of course, it's a player thing, a director thing. You have to be like, no, that doesn't fit. No, we need to do this. Like, we can't do that right now, type thing.
Yeah.
So just as a possible pitfall that someone may run into when they play this, don't let this, because the whole purpose of this game is the interaction between the players. Right. So don't let two players just say, hey, we fix it by saying we fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you have to do the work.
Just like in real relationships, you have to put in the work.
This is do the work. Do your work, the game.
Yeah. And so let's see. Let's do some more baseline mechanical talk, because I think that there's a few other things to talk about. We barely even talked about the transcendence. And that is...
Yeah, let's talk about that before.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's a big part of the thing. It's your magical girl transformation, or your Sentai transformation, or your getting into your mech, or your some other form of thing that you have the ability to do, but only in a limited quantity.
Whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing right now, do it better. And so your transcendence is it has, I believe it starts with 4 actions, and you can transcend once per session. When you do, every action you take after that eats a bar or eats a pip of your transcendence. And so you are on a clock the minute you do that. And when you are transcended, you also get any transcended ability that you have in stats. And I believe that that levels on its... or it can be leveled.
The leveling process, maybe I just misread it or you know, skimmed the wrong part of it. But it seems a little confusing. I think that's
there's a lot of
game,
layers.
they need to focus.
Yeah. I would say that leveling is definitely a sit down and figure it out kind of thing for this game.
Need to focus, need to pay attention to it. It's not quite as simple as maybe D&D, where it's just like, here's this list. This goes up by 1, this goes up by 1. You get this ability. So, which I think is good. It allows you to customize your character, and it allows you to sort of stay true to what you want to play as far as that playbook goes. But just takes a little more work, a little more research.
Yeah. And I did have that research done, but it was months ago. I definitely feel like an idiot now, because I wish that I were able to be like, I understand exactly how it works and I can explain it. But I will say, again, for being a Blades in the Dark powered by the Apocalypse style of game, this game has a lot more leggies than most of them that I've seen, and as such, it very much cares about clocks and harm tracks and interactions and adding your bonus dice. Like, it's good that they have all the different actions that you can take on your character sheet, and they're all just those 9 actions, because the modifiers to those actions get a little bit hazy as we go into things like helping someone else out or using a link or getting into the actual, like, what you can get a bonus die from, and poison promises, which I absolutely love. A poison promise, let me see if I can find the page, because I don't want to explain it wrong. They're one of those little things that you will never get a player to agree to do, and it hurts my heart, and I wish that people would just be a little more cavalier about the games that they play and the Cthulhu style play that they enable for themselves. Characters in this game live in a hostile world, one that pits them against each other and twists their intentions. The protagonists act with intention to do good, but they cannot predict every consequence of their actions. The world can't be changed without disruption, upset, and consequences. To reflect this, the director or any other player can offer a bonus die to any action roll by attaching a poisoned promise. A poisoned promise adds a troublesome complication to the story, often connected to the immediate action, but not always. And some examples are betray a friend or loved one, maybe by accidentally exposing a secret, introduce a troublesome character or factor, inadvertently help your adversary's cause, which would make the adversary tracker go up more than likely, start and or tick a troublesome clock, your action sets some greater foe on your trail, advance the adversary track. Oh yeah, there you go. And then suffer harm. So all of these things you can do, and you get a free juicy bonus die. You don't necessarily succeed. You don't get a reroll, but man, it's really hard to get dice in this game.
Yeah, this is Vices in World of Darkness, maybe.
And
Like,
it's also
similar,
Vices in Blades in the Dark, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no.
Yeah.
Vices are your de-stressors in Blades in the Dark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it reminds me of, I'll indulge in this to get a willpower back or to get this thing, like we were talking about stories, and I won't go into long stories, but you're a getaway driver and you have pride, so you're gonna do laps around the police. You're gonna it's fine. Maybe set me back
You
if
got
there were
away too
clocks.
quick.
Then yeah. It wasn't a fun chase. Okay, so I'm just gonna slow down, see what happens. So yeah, that type of thing. And yeah, it is hard to get players to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so hard. Like, telling someone, hey, you could do this thing and it'll be a little bit dangerous for you, but you get a potential bonus. And especially for this one, because it's all you get is a bonus die. You don't even get a better chance of success besides mathematically.
Yeah.
And you will have something bad happen.
Could you make an analog? Not quite, because you can't bank it and it doesn't power things, but making a joke to get willpower in Teams with Attitude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, you don't get anything bad because of that, but player greed,
I get something bad.
Is a
it
factor.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, that's right. You do get something bad every time. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I would have to play it to see one die, but I mean, I would just do it anyway because I don't care. It's fun to try.
Well, and
but
also, it's fun to have consequences. Like,
it is.
Well, I've talked about this on the channel plenty of times. It's just so much better to have something go terribly wrong because you wanted it.
Yeah.
Yes. As long as the idea is that it's a story wrong, not just you did the thing badly, so now your character's dead, or you failed. Like, the thing that this whole game is about, you have failed to do it. You should feel bad. Like, that's not what we're going for. This is just like, there's a reason that you and the other characters are going to fight about something later, part of your downtime or part of your story. Like, conflict drives story.
Yeah, exactly. And that
story is just. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're cooking.
You're spitting.
All I was saying is, like, there's no story where it's just like the protagonist wakes up, has a great day, and goes to bed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
I feel like I need
I'm-
to hit some players that I've run for over the head with that.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like you have to escape out of this dangerous situation. They're like they get stun locked. They're like, but what if I just stay right here? It's like, well, that's not interesting.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm perfectly safe right here, aren't I? Yes.
Yeah, but
Okay,
the
then I just
story
wanna
won't
move.
go forward. You could just have hung at the we could have just tavern time, I guess, like
Mhm.
if you want, but why
Not
would you
even
want
slice
that?
of life anime has no conflict in some
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Like even slice of life is like, I hope that they like me, or I
Mhm.
want to get onto this club or win an election. Like there's something,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
something that
Mhm.
has to happen, and there has to be a bad thing, right? That they're trying not to
Mhm.
have happen, or that happens. I don't know. It. I think that if players didn't want to do it, I would just juice it, right? Like, yeah, okay, you don't want to do that. Maybe you show them that, hey, these bad things aren't that bad, they could be fun. i
Mhm.
it would be hard to deprogram a
Yeah.
table full of players like that, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is necessarily a negative.
No.
What I'm
And it
trying to say,
also,
I think.
yeah, it also takes a certain type of, I don't want to say a certain type of gamer. It just
Yeah.
takes someone to realize that that's the game. Like there are
Yeah.
power gamers, there are, or not power gamers, but there are like superpower people. They want to be better than themselves. They don't want to be the negative version. And this
Mhm.
game is not that. This game is quite literally designed to be the opposite. You are
Right.
not supposed to be perfect. You are supposed to be troubled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
It is about looking at the world through people who are troubled and having problems with their world, oppression, or disrespect, or things of that nature.
Right.
and I think that it's good to like point out all the things that can cause stress. Failed roles can cause stress.
Mhm.
Um, your obligation causes stress and is hilarious. You can cause yourself once. You can mark. I think it's 2 stress to assist someone, or is it 1? I think assisting a
Yeah,
roll
take 2 stress.
Yeah. Too.
is not 1
Yeah,
stress.
bonus
It's
die.
2 to give your
Yeah.
ally a bonus die. And then I think that my favorite stressor is group checks. Because in this game, the way
Mhm.
that group checks work is you can include if you want to increase your chances of success in a roll, you can include as many of the party members as you want in the roll, and they can all roll the attribute or the action that would cause the thing to succeed. And all you need is 1 success to get it. But for every
Mm.
player that failed their roll, that you pick a group lead for the group check,
Mhm.
and for every player that fails their roll, the group lead takes 1 stress.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I love that as a concept. I think it's
Mhm.
amazing. Because it's
Very
not
high
just like
risk.
group checks are just better. It's like, well, yeah, they are just better, but you're also going to stress the hell out of whoever's leading it. So
Mhm.
be sure to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a decent segue point. I want to talk about phases of this game
Sure. Yeah.
because
Sounds good.
the the way that this game plays is it has a lot of times I say, what's a session layout like, because I try to have that be something that I look towards. Games like D&D, games like, for the most part, Powered by the Apocalypse, are very loosey goosey. It's just like you just play to play,
Yeah.
and you get where you get. But then you have games like Teens with Attitude, which is supposed to be
Mhm.
formatted as a show. And even still, I don't believe it had that many phases on its own. I basically just made those up. But one of
Yeah.
the
Yes.
things that gave me templating to do that was seeing Andrew Gillis's playtests of Girl by Moonlight. Because the
Mhm.
phases
Okay.
in this game are perfect.
Mm.
You start off with a session layout in 4 phases. You have your obligation, your downtime, your mission, and your fallout. Your obligation is your mundane life phase, and all you do for this phase mechanically is you roll a d6 of your lowest attribute. So whatever your worst
Okay.
attribute is, you roll that many dice, and then you take 6 minus your die roll in stress.
Ow. Ouch.
Yeah. So like
Okay.
it's kind of like an obligation roll from other games where it's like, who's going to be the one that's more pressured this session? But sometimes it could just be everybody's having a shit day.
Mm.
If you crit, you can crit, which is a 6, which means 0 stress. If you do that, you get a free downtime as well.
Oh, right then and there.
I think it's just added into the downtime phase.
Okay.
But,
Okay. So you get double downtime. Okay.
yeah, basically you get doublesies because you're having such a good day.
Nice.
But so that starts you out with a baseline level of, well, here's how stressed you are. And you, after you roll that, basically you determine between the GM and the player, or sorry, the director and the protagonist,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that caused that in your mundane life. And you, of course, use your character's backstory and things like that. It's like maybe there was a really nasty test and you didn't study for it. Maybe you got bullied by someone. Something else that's important in this game is you always make NPCs for yourself.
You make
And
them.
based on the playbook that you're in, those NPCs have certain roles that they fulfill in the story.
Okay.
Let's see. That's lost. That's not. I don't want to end. Oh, 84. Dang it. I'm bad. Sorry, I'm trying to talk while also trying to sort.
Yeah.
I think that the obligation part of it is pretty cool because it's
Mm-hmm.
you roll the dice to sort of give you the randomness of it, but then it lets you decide how you want your character to be affected by it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you think a time traveler would find highly stressful,
Mm-hmm.
or what they would have done that there was almost no stress, right? Like that whole level, instead of it just being like, I don't want to say random because it's never really random. It's whatever the director has planned. But the director just saying like, okay, today you're taking a test because you're in school, or today the water filtration system broke, so now you're doing this, or you've had a nightmare and so now your day is this way.
Yeah.
He lets you pick how you see your character developing.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I really love about this is it even goes and says, okay, here's some ideas for what it could be based off of the role that you had to do. So if it was Sun that you rolled, your obligation involves scary people or circumstances or is physically taxing. If Moon is rolled, your obligation breaks your heart, drives you to despair. And if Stars is rolled, your obligation puts you under social pressure. So So it gives you, and it always has you doing as your oh no for the start of the session. It always has you doing the thing you're worst at.
Yeah.
So because that's the thing that's going to stress you out the most throughout your day. So you could be doing great at tests, but suddenly you have to interact with people and you're the stranger and you hate that.
Yeah.
So it also gives the director a little hint here. It says, this is a place to follow through on your principle to gaze into the broken mirror in the everyday world. It's actually probably a good idea to just go into, they do a good job in this book of setting up the player agenda. Let's see.
Yeah.
That would be 85. Where are we here? 82. So, well, no, let's continue with this. Sorry, because I said we're going to talk about phases of play, so let's do that. So that's your obligation roll,
sure.
and it's very low mechanics, but very good like RP. Then in your downtime, you have the ability to take a downtime action, and you have multiple things that you have the ability to choose, and then it just gives you the table. It says mechanically, here's what you can do. You can either affect a clock, you can affect tracks, clocks, or links awarded. And it's 2 segments marked or links given on a 1 to 3. It is 3 segments marked or links given on a 4 to 5, and it is 4 segments marked or links given on a 6. And critical successes will have different results depending on what the specific action you took is. So you can make a connection, which is choose another protagonist, describe something the two of you do together. This is something I had you all do all the time.
Yep.
In Teens with Attitude. If it's
Yep.
something the other character would appreciate, they can offer you an extra die. Roll the appropriate action. The chosen character gains the result level as links with you. And if you critically succeed, you also gain 1 link with them.
Okay.
Is critically succeed more than just rolling a 6?
No, it is exactly rolling a 6.
Okay.
Or no, wait, sorry. Critically succeed is more than rolling a 6. You have to roll multiple 6s.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just rolling a 6. You have to have more than 1 die and you have to roll. And by the way, for mechanics in this game, if you're rolling, if you're attributing something or your ability in an action is 0, you roll at disadvantage. So you roll 2, take the lowest.
Ow.
Yeah. And it says you can. Yeah. It's rough.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It says you can only make a connection with a given character once per downtime. So you can't just double up if you get 2 downtime.
Right.
You can help a friend recover. When you help a friend recover, describe how you're supporting the healing process, roll an appropriate action. They advance their recovery clock per your result. And if you crit, you fill 5 segments instead, and you each mark 1 link with each other. Okay. So already right here, we can see that make a connection is like the cutesy thing, but once people are hurt, this is the fucking you need to get better role. And that's fair because I do believe that harm in this game functions under the assumption of once you have all of your harm tracks filled, the next harm you would take, I think it retires you.
Oof. Yeah.
Really? I didn't realize that.
I can double check that. That's actually worth double checking. Give me a second here. I'm going to stand up real quick.
Give me a second. I'm standing up.
I think so. I mean that is how you would help people heal. I think the other one that is work on a long-term project. It's one of the other ones you can do during a downtime.
Yeah.
And that's one where it's saying like the fixing the clocks. So depending on the things that you may or may not want to happen in your world, I think that's pretty cool because you can do these projects for yourself, building like more skills. If you have like a secret base, one of the play tests, or not play tests, but one of the play sets, you have secret bases and you can sort of uncover new rooms and new parts to that.
Okay.
If you're playing in the one with the giant robots, you can sort of help upgrade your robot. You would do long-term projects to increase their armor or their weapons or stuff like that. And so it sort of gives your character I think an interesting thing of like whatever they're tinkering with, whatever they like to work on.
Yeah, I saw like on a Sea of Stars, there's the ship, and I saw upgrade for your flagship, and I'm like, when does that happen? But if it's downtime, long-term projects, that really incentivizes getting double downtime as well, right? You really like you want to rush some of these depending on your group or what makes the most sense, right? And there's a web, so like you have to do this before that one, it seems, at least it looks like. So there might be planning with the team for these long-term projects, and it just like if you say, okay, we're going to do a long-term project, and that long-term project, I'm just looking at the sheet right now, is add extended berths to our ship. It expands the hangar to store 2 additional engines. Well, how can our 2 characters work on that? Like that really pushes the RP directly into the phases like that, which is cool.
Yeah, I think so. It allows you to sort of work on things as a team. 2 people be like, oh, we're both going to work on this.
Yeah, it blows Bastions out of the water.
It is
the recent 5th edition thing.
It is definitely by the way, just in case we didn't keep track. So it works. I think this is pretty functionally similar to City of Mist. There are 3 levels of harm. Level 1 and 2 can each hold two tags. Level 3 can only hold 1 tag. If you ever get to the point where you would fill out a level 4 harm, that's fatal. You die.
Gotcha.
Ow.
Yeah. So that recovery tracker is important. You guys were talking about the series playbooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of
Endless.
different long-term projects that work within the series playbooks, but
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, long-term
Yeah,
projects is the other one. So you help a friend recover, and then work on a long-term project, which is basically just ticking clocks.
Yeah.
And then I believe last is investigation. Is that
But not least, because investigation's very important for this game. Actually quite undersoldly important, I would say, because excuse me. It's sleepy times. Because investigating is what helps you go against the level of adversary that you currently have. And if you don't have any investigation level, your initial into engagement roll is going to be very bad.
they surprise you?
Yeah.
Basically, if you're not paying attention, people are going to get the drop on you. That's just how it works. But so when you investigate, you describe how you're seeking information on your adversaries, roll an appropriate action, results advance the investigation track in a series playset. The investigation track will reset per mission.
Okay.
So, along with advancing the investigation track, use your result as gather information roll as well, and you can ask the director questions. So you're not just rolling and not doing anything, you're also getting to get some answers out of it too. Director will describe what gave you this particular insight, reveal details that were previously unknown to you by answering your questions. And on a critical success, you advance the track by 5 segments, and the group gains an additional die for the engagement roll on the next mission. And that leads us into missions.
Yeah.
So again, downtime though, there are 4 overarching things that you can do in it, but all of them have a decent amount of nuance and usefulness, especially as the series goes on, or as a season will go on, because harm's going to add up. Like this game, I was describing it as what if Sailor Moon, but also Darkest Dungeon. Because it's like, ooh, my sanity's not good. That's pretty bad. Yeah. Ooh, I gotta bleed. I'm gonna need to go to the medic. Oh, we have another mission already? Oh, that's... Can I just sit here for a little bit?
Bad.
No? Okay.
All right, then.
Guess I'm just a little crazy.
Just
and for gather information, it gives a reference that I'm looking at here. Gather information, when you roll it, if you roll a 1 to 3, it's 1 question. If you roll a 4 to 5, it's 1 question and 1 follow-up, which I think is a fun little thing rather than just asking the question. Then 6 is 2 questions, 1 follow-up.
Yeah, so you can't just be like, what's this one thing? And then, I have a second question. Oh, what's this other random thing? It's like, no, you found 2 things that are related.
Yeah. So with that, we move into missions. And missions are the meat that you want to grab, I guess is what we're saying here, of any particular session. It is also split into 4 parts. These parts are as follows. They are this is series creation. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong things. I have my book open to different pages than I have my PDF open to. They are the engagement roll, the cut to the action, the heart of the matter, and then the end of mission and fallout phase. The fallout phase is a whole other separate, it's the 4th phase of the actual session itself. But so the engagement roll is pretty simple. You go down a basically linked list of things and you check against them. And for everything that you would get a bonus die for, you get a bonus die. For everything you would lose a die for, you lose a die. Some examples. There's always hope. Pro tags start with 1 die for every mission. If you manage to roll, I think it was the gather information. It also, I think when you crit, you get an extra die just for that. And then, is the mission particularly heroic? Take a +D. Does the mission's goal or methods reflect the worst part of the protagonist? Take a - die. Is the mission following through on details they investigated? Take +1 die. Are the protagonists acting rashly? Take -1. And then, does this mission determine the fate of a friend? Take +1. Are troubles from the protagonist's mundane lives getting in the way of this mission? Take -1. And so that it gives, those are basically just guidelines, I would say.
Mhm.
But definitely,
I think they are.
yeah.
And as you play, you may find out
Yeah.
new things. You'd be like, oh, I think this or that would be a plus or -1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the last one is, are there any other elements you want to consider due to circumstances or events in your world? At the director's discretion, these factors might improve or impede your engagement roll. So basically, you do the engagement roll, and then we cut to the action. And the way that when we cut to the action, we basically just say, what this is saying is, hey, this is a game. This is a game based on a game about heists. We're getting to the good part. And you can do flashbacks if you need to do any setup later. Flashbacks also a part of this game, just like in Blades in the Dark. So we're gonna get to the part where you find the enemy, or find the thing you're looking for, or find the problem. We're just gonna go straight to that. And so the engagement role is to say, well, how do you find yourself once you're there?
I see. So it kind of gets rid of that waffling. Where do we go? What are we doing?
Yeah,
right.
no.
And you don't even need to investigate beforehand. It will happen. Investigation just puts you on a better footing, right?
Correct.
So on a 1 to 3, you get a bad result. You're in a desperate position. So there are positions in the game. It is desperate, risky, and controlled. Controlled you will rarely be in. Risky is the default, but if you roll good enough, you get a 6, you're going to be in a controlled position when actions start. Which is good because the position will shift as combat / intrigue / whatever moves through for your mission. And so, and on a critical success, you have an exceptional result. You've already overcome some initial obstacle, and you're in a controlled position for whatever comes next. So basically, you would tick up a good clock or minus a bad clock, essentially. And then from that point, we go to the heart of the matter, which is just the actual full meat of the mission. The protagonist came here for a reason. Now is when they work towards whatever goal they set out to accomplish. Situation should be present with clear obstacles to overcome. And whenever you set a mission as a group. So you say, here's what we're planning to do. Here's where we're going to go. And I think you can even go as far as saying, here are some impediments we would expect to face, probably. And if there's like a rival group, or if there's some sort of overarching overseer that would be in the way, things like that.
Yeah, and I would assume that you would do that in the downtime to start addressing those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's what your investigation would be against, essentially.
Right, exactly.
Doing that.
Yeah, those complications that you foresee, which is priming the pump for the director. Thank you, because sometimes I forget. Right, you're like, oh yeah, your rival could come in. I totally forgot about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember, we want the show to be interesting to watch. That's the whole point of having episodes and seasons.
And the director may know, this story is about a specific type of combat. This monster, this enemy, we're focusing on this one.
Yeah.
Everybody gets ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, after this is, I think, about the openness part of it, because this is where you get into a situation, clocks start rolling, you're having to overcome threats, you're having to figure out things, you will be transcending probably at some point, which gives you your special armor. Transcending also something we should probably just talk about in depth for this, because it's so important. But that is the phase where you do that, and then after that you go into the Fallout phase, which is essentially the reset. It's just your hard reset.
Coming back to the status quo, even if it's changed a little.
You see the consequences of the group's mission. Their adversary closes in on them, seeking to snuff out the opposition they represent. Other complications and consequences also arise following the group's efforts. In this phase, the director will advance the adversary track, make a Fallout roll to generate new troubles for the group. Fallout marks the end of an episode and a launching point for the events of the next. This is an excellent opportunity for the director to ask questions and follow through on details. But it talks about this. There was something else where it just explains what happens in the Fallout phase, and it's like you clear stress, you recharge transcendence. Where is it? It talks about the adversary track, which is basically your timeline. Your adversary track can only go so far, and then you have a final confrontation. And whether or not you're ready for it is up to how well you've played up to this point. Let's see. And tracks reset at the start of a new season.
Is adversary track, is that just a bad guy, or is it the bad guy?
The adversary track is the overarching villain of the season.
Okay.
So anything that's happening, any minions that you fight, any stuff to that effect, it advances the adversary track. There are also some other things that specifically advance it. Every mission exposes the group to reprisals regardless of the mission's outcome. During Fallout, the adversary track advances by 1 segment, plus 1 additional segment for each of the following that occurred during the mission. The adversary's agenda was moved forward by events if you failed to stop them completely or something like that. Someone fell into eclipse or was killed by or defected to the adversary. The protagonist came closer to their destiny as established in the series creation. Which, again, the session 0 on this thing is not small.
Yeah,
I believe that.
Yeah, it seems so. I don't want to say that like your adversary track could throw off the director's storytelling, but you may want to be careful with it. You know, if you're planning on like, okay, we're gonna do 4 or 5 missions and then they'll fight a big monster. One bad adversary track could cut you down to 3 missions, 2 missions, depending on what happens. But
and
just as you go, you'll learn.
Well, and so just to pull it up here, for example, the Abyss, the Brink of the Abyss is the director page, which they also give the director individual pages for all the individual game types, which I'm a big fan of.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So that's some other stuff. We should really talk about all the handouts that they give in this series. This game. It's a lot, and it's a lot. Like, again, this book, I was talking to Philip earlier, it is only like 220 something pages, but it feels like there are 600 pages worth of stuff in this series. Just everything that I'm saying, I'm sitting here saying, oh, but also don't forget this. And also there's this. This also applies to this, and this does this. So for being a pretty tightly knit system, it really does have a lot to it. Each of the pieces of the adversary track for the Abyss has 5 segments. So you start at tier 1, you move to tier 2, and then you move to tier 3, and so you progress linearly.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
The what was it called? No, the thing where you change your transformation.
Transcendence.
Transcendence.
Right? Transcendence.
Yeah.
I sort of had a question about that, and maybe James can answer this, or we can work on it as a team. You can only do that once per session.
Yes.
That's the idea. But we know that when you go through the layout, you have your obligation, which is just your mundane life.
Yep.
You're not going to transition there. Your downtime is you doing stuff. Those are set. I don't think you're going to do it there. Your investigation, and I don't think you'll do it there. So it seems like the only place you would get to change is when you cut to the action and the heart of the matter.
I mean, yeah. In fairness, though, that's pretty much typical of Power Rangers, Sailor Moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I agree. So that's why I was just curious. It seems, I don't want to say arbitrary to be like, oh, you can only do it once. It's like, well, yeah, there's only one time you would do it anyways. It's like in Power Rangers, when you watch Power Rangers, they only put on their suits once at the end of the episode when they're fighting, and then
Yeah.
they're done. Then the episode's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the point is, so transcendence is also a clock. Once you trigger your transcendence, you have 4 actions to get shit done in. And
yes,
it doesn't necessarily mean that the action of the episode is going to be just, all right, here's the all-out brawl with the one bad guy. It could be some other series of events. You're trying to get a MacGuffin, you're trying to make it to a place, you're trying to delve deep somewhere to discover some unknown secret. And so the goal isn't always necessarily murder bad guy, right?
right, yes.
So you would have to use your transcendence in correct ways, understanding that every time, if you are in transcendence, every time you do any action, you're 1 down out of 4. So there is still a timing to it. And I have in like plays that I've watched is like someone's just like transcend right off the rip when we're in the heart of the mission. And it's like that person burned out fast and then they were in trouble for the rest of the episode.
Okay. And what you had seen is once they hit that heart of the matter, is that a big chunk of the game? Like maybe half of your session?
I would say that is where you end up seeing, I mean, because that is where you'll see like your transcendent abilities and everything actually go to fruition. Because being successful at things outside of the mission portion is largely determined on how many bonuses you get from other people. When you're transcended, you finally unlock the extra transcended pips. So like here, how to transcend. I just want to point out, by the way, that transcendence is supposed to be the magical girl transformation of this series. If you look at episode 50, or you look at page 51, that's I've never seen that magical girl before, but she looks like she's having a good time, I guess. She's
you scroll down on the screen a little bit so people can see. But
yeah. No, I scrolled past it. I'm not going to leave that on the screen too long. I don't want to have to put a trigger warning on this.
She's just transcending. Okay.
Listen, she just wants that blighted heart. It's delicious and it's yummy, and she's going to eat it.
I'll have what she's having.
Each protagonist can activate their transcendence once per mission. They may transcend at any time before making an action roll in response to the consequence they're suffering, or any other time they feel makes sense. So, technically, I mean, it's during the mission. So that's the statement, is like it's only during the mission. Right. So your mundane is not going to be, your obligation and your downtime will not have you transcending. The Fallout will also not have you transcending. You transcend during mission.
Okay, cool.
So, I mean, that it's arbitrary within the mission, but like I was saying, the missions don't necessarily have to exactly fit the 5 minutes that they usually do in a Sentai show. Like, you can play with it a little bit. The benefits of transcending, your transcendent special abilities from your playbook in the series playset, you unlock those. You can use your armor, which is one-time negating of harm. You can,
one place you get armor is once.
Yeah, you get your transcendent action ratings, the 3rd and 4th dots, if you have any. And then you get increased effect level against supernatural opposition. Because I believe you get negative effect level against supernatural opposition when you're not transcended.
Oh,
okay.
So, like, you know, the Power Rangers can fight putties, but the minute the boss monster comes around, it's like, well, we're going to get our suits on now, because that guy can kill us.
Yeah, he's going to squish us.
Limits of transcendence. Each protagonist has a transcendence track in their playbook. Every action roll made while transcended advances the track by 1 segment. This includes group actions and any action rolls made in flashbacks in which the character is still transcended. Once the last segment of the track is filled, their transcendence ends. If the protagonists are able to accomplish all they need within the transcendent actions they have, then transcendence ending might be a relief, a moment of peace and release tension, and a relatively calm following of the action. If, however, they run out of transcendence in the midst of a mission, with their adversary still threatening them, they might end up bereft of power when they need it most. Transcendence track resets when the protagonists complete a mission unless they are in eclipse or ineligible due to a series rule. Which there are some series that are like, you've got to do something very specific to get your transcendence track back down. And then it talks about links in the book too, which are very important, and the links that you can generate for other people. And I think that's also very important to point out when you do a downtime action that is a hanging out with your friend, make a connection. You give them links to you. You don't normally get any links back, so they can spend those. Okay. You can't.
Interesting. So you spend your time to help your friends do better. Mm-hmm. So if you spent your downtime
Group doing game.
Yeah. So if you spent your downtime making connections and the other people did long-term goals or like long-term projects, it's like, oh, great. Well, you'll all be stronger in the next mission and I won't be.
Yeah.
And so, of course, people should work together and try and balance it out,
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be a power gamer and try and be like, oh, I've got these links. Well, I don't need to do anything then. I can do my own thing.
I can't imagine a power gamer playing this game. It doesn't make any sense.
They would be very unhappy.
It doesn't. It's not a game for that. This is very much an RP game that has a lot of very strong mechanics enforcing it.
Mm-hmm, right. Mm-hmm.
And so if you're like, I'm here just to punch things, it's like, sick, man. That's one stat. What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing with the rest of your time?
Sometimes people fall back into a type, right? They're used to doing something, and their friends are doing this other thing, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. Like, why not? I'm still hanging out with my friends. And they don't realize that they're falling back into their old ways and their old power gaming. This is all just, how do I make this stronger? How do I make myself bigger? Yeah.
I'm right here. Damn it.
you and your grids.
Yeah, I had to put a grid on the background.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering what the hell you were doing with the laser show. You sicko. But again, and something to point out is like the premise of this game. While I make the joke about Sailor Moon Darkest Dungeon, the actual premise of this game, and something to keep in mind is the use of magical girls as an allegory for self-discovery and queer identity. This is a very intrinsically queer game, and the book itself states that there is no separating that out of it. This is not a game for playing as normal people. This is a game for the marginalized. This is a game for the outsiders. This is a game for people who are usually oppressed in society, and the game itself is about that oppression and trying to find yourself in the face of it.
Right.
I loved the blip that they had on or the blurb that they had on the actual Evil Hat site. It explores the heartbreak of denying who you really are and the transcendent power of relationships and community. None of that talks about having the best build.
Nope.
It just doesn't care.
Very true.
It just does not care.
So that is that. And that is the full effect of the mission phase, and then the Fallout phase. In the Fallout phase, you basically you roll to progress the series, and then you keep progressing. And then I think maybe there's ways to buy down the adversary track, but I don't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's probably different roles and different abilities that different classes have.
And something to also note is that when it comes to, I don't think I can actually show this in the screen without doing some manipulation here, but on the play sheets for the director, the tiers of adversary have different Fallout roles. So if you're in tier 1, 1 to 3 is an enemy acts against the group, 4 to 5 is a friend needs urgent help, and 6 is omens loom in the mundane world. So those are like your prompts for your next adventure.
Right.
In tier 2, 1 to 3, an enemy is embraced by the abyss, 4 to 5, agents of the abyss stalk a friend, and 6, an obligation causes trouble for the group. And then finally, tier 3 is the abyss advances its agenda. So it just gets to have that for when it comes next time, and you're going to get extra pips next round. A friend succumbs to the abyss for 4 to 5. And in 6, an important place falls to the abyss. So it's got all these great prompts for, and here's what we're going to do on our next exciting episode. But also it's very much a stuff gets worn down, stuff gets destroyed, things happen worse and worse and worse as time goes on. This is a very sad game.
Right.
I kind of like that that for the director they give this much information. I wonder how much replayability each one of these play sets has. You know, do you think you would play once or twice using their rules, and then on the next one you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna tweak it this way or that way. I'm gonna change it from this to that, and or do you think it works, always works, just following their rules, their roles?
I mean, I would say if you're gonna start hacking this game, you want to play it at least once. I would say play it raw once, just because.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would say raw 2 or 3 times. I bet there's enough random.
There's
chance.
so much juice. We talk about juice all the time. The juice in this game is just everywhere.
It is loose.
Yeah, it's loose.
It is loose. You're right.
Well, I mean,
I'm
like,
not gonna make the comment about that image, but it may be loose. The juice may be loose in that image.
At this
you
point,
brought
we're
me
talking
here.
about the heart juice. Yeah. No, but so let's go ahead and let's move forward a little bit. I do want to talk about some of the series playbooks, because I think at least let's choose one to dive into. What do you guys have a particular one that you think looks great?
I was thinking the Maze of Dreams sounds pretty interesting. Very concept based. The Brink of the Abyss, I'm pretty sure is Sailor Moon.
Brink of the Abyss is the core form of this setting. Maze,
and then the Sea of Stars is just Gundam or any of the giant Macross style.
How dare you?
Macross, yes.
Yeah.
But any of those where you have the fighting, but you also have the whole like war and the people and the soldier story that I think Gundam and Macross was really good about.
Yeah, Macross was it's very analogous to Macross, because Macross has always had an othered enemy that ends up not being othered by the end of it. Like, that is core Macross.
Yeah.
Whether it's the culture of the, what's the name of the Zendrats? Zendrati? Is that right?
Zendrati, yeah.
Yeah, the Zendrati or the aliens from Frontier. It's always very much about, like, here's this other thing. Oh, they're just like us. And that is,
oh no, they're just like us.
oh no, and they hate us.
Yeah. Fuck. What do we do? But yeah, Maze of Dream, I mean, is the one that I didn't look at. I'm just gonna tell you right now, because I saw that there was a Gundam / Macross one, and I went, what does that mean? So yes, I mean, that is the more interesting one to me, just because I know less about how you would do it.
So the Maze of Dreams, just for why to play, it says you love psychological thrillers, occult mysteries, and things left unknown. You want to focus on individual characters in the inner world of their dreams, and you want to explore dream logic, surreal landscapes, and lush symbolic visuals. And I will say that this is the Persona one. This is the one that's based on Persona.
Yeah.
This is you go into an other world. You have a bunch of different things that are. It's basically you're trying to unlock a conspiracy, and that the conspiracy is the. See if I can open this up in my stoof.
I was gonna say, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors, similar.
Yeah, where you could be like a wizard in your dream. Like, you could play it that way too.
Yeah.
The conspiracy is a guy.
Old school changeling.
Yeah.
Conspiracy is just some dude murdering people in their dreams. Oh, that's It's not very
So
sneaky.
Changeling used to be running around through dreams and world hopping and multiverse type stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so very Persona. I mean, you could go the Mind Palace route. You could go just some dreamscape that's shared, right? And there's little areas of parts of the conspiracy. But yeah, now that you say that, I'm like, oh, of course, it's the Persona one.
I
Now
also
that I'm
thought
looking at it, of course it is.
I also
Yeah.
thought of like an isekai.
Yeah, that too could be that.
Somehow you get pulled into a game and
Well, so you would have
something.
to. It can't be but so much isekai because you have to come back out.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
What
just
is
own
it?
it.
Dot hack? That's
This is the
Gosh.
Matrix.
More and
The
more I'm
Matrix is-
reminded
Absolutely
of
the
Dot
Matrix.
Hack and how fucking ahead of its time it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, like I can see the Matrix with this very well.
Mm-hmm.
That type of story. Yeah.
Yep. And so I'm
So yeah,
gonna get.
I just thought it'd be kind of an interesting one to talk about since
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I guess once you can say the once you're able to point to like this anime, this game, this thing, then it's like, oh yeah, 100% I know how that works.
Well, but so you understand how it would play and the ideas, but the real question is because this playbook is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 pages.
Wow.
So what are they telling
Yeah,
us
'cause
in 17 pages about how we're supposed to play this series when they already gave us a whole 200-page book on how to play the game?
Yeah. And how I'm just looking at the like upgrade system and I'm like, do you have negatives until you do that? Do you like, because it says just an example of an upgrade. Fallout results are one level worse until all of these are identified. This
Mm.
Which
that mean
series
when
rule are we looking at?
Maze of Dream, I'm looking at the what is this called? I don't know what this is called. The upgrade triangle, inverted triangle that I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
I guess
Hold
the
on.
conspiracy. I don't know.
So, oh yeah, that's the conspiracy. Yeah.
Okay. So while you're working on that, do you have negatives until you finish it? Is
I
that what that
think
is?
I think the way that works is like, okay, I don't actually know. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
it's
I
wild. It
also
looks
I
weird comparatively.
yeah. So let's see. Series rule avatars, series abilities, director's principles, obligation downtime,
Mhm.
series rule the conspiracy. The conspiracy, if that's what this in fact is, I believe it
Yeah.
is. Is represented by a map in the playset. This map shows the organizational structure of one cell of the conspiracy, which the protagonist will seek to unravel. While the cell remains functional, it actively impedes the protagonist's efforts.
Okay.
By confronting key members of the cell and identifying their subordinates, the protagonist can dismantle it sufficiently to identify and confront the host and send the cell into disarray. The protagonist will not typically be able to shut down all three branches of the cell, as the conspiracy track will force a confrontation before too long. The protagonist must carve a path to the host quickly and strategically, then strike before the conspiracy moves against them.
Got you. Okay. So that's why it's an inverted triangle that you work from the outside in. Interesting.
Yeah.
So it looks
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you can get like indoctrination, if you can figure out who the propagator, the followers, and the overseer is, that lets you take down the indoctrination aspect of it, and from there you can find your way to the host. That's one
Gotcha.
aspect of surveillance.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
basically
that's a very inverted. Good.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's like one of the mini game style things from like Kingmaker, essentially, where it's like you only have enough resource and X, Y, and Z to do so much on this track, and things will keep popping up, and it's just a question of can you survive the board long enough to get to the juicy center and stop it at the core before it comes for you.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's a fun little mini game that they have going on there.
Right.
And
And
so
it gives so much to the director. Like, okay, well, let me get a propagator for the indoctrination of this particular conspiracy. All right, well, that sets a skeleton for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also gives you a bunch of basically just new rules. So, series rule
Yeah.
suspects. When creating secondary characters, which you do in every version of the game, each player at the table names 2 suspects. Describe them and write their name in a detail in the suspects section. All suspects are part of the conspiracy, but the nature of their involvement remains unknown until it's established in play. Though they are suspects from the point of view of the conspiracy, these characters are also connected to the protagonists in some way. They could be family, friends, co-workers, or parasocial relationships. Whatever the case, these are people the protagonists know, even if they don't know that they are part of the conspiracy. At the end of the season, clear all conspirators from the conspiracy map. Each player removes 1 suspect from the list. Any known conspirators that remain are assigned new roles in the conspiracy, resulting in them once more being unknown factors. And each player makes a new suspect and notes their name. So you
Interesting.
you keep pressing forward and trying to solve it more and more. Like this one is the most riddly noodly one of all of them, I would say, because it's very much like, here, have your murder board, and you have to figure out on your murder board who's what, and the director can basically just pull the rug from under you if they so choose, but they can also try to actually make it seem like some of them are a thing. And you also get your avatars, which they're personas. You get personas.
Yeah.
It's cool.
You get a persona. Yeah, I mean, I would 1000% just turn this into a cyberpunk story where you're on the net or something. That's what I would do. 1000%. And I think that this may be, I haven't looked at all of them, but this is a very open kind of what are these called? Rulebook, playbook?
Play sets.
It's a playbook.
It's a very open play set. Okay, playbook. That I really enjoy that, right? Like, this is once again the meat that I was looking to hang on to, grab onto.
Grab onto that meat.
In Teams with Attitude, like, you did a great job of giving us that stuff, but it wasn't
in
there
the game.
That
was in here. This game is like, here, actual thing. You don't have to think anymore, dummy. And I'm like, thank you. I love this.
Yeah. But to me, that gives you that skeleton that you could go ham in, right? Because no direction, often, especially if you're newer to a system or to the concept of tabletop, it's hard for you to do this. It is a hard job, but this kind of gives you that, and you just ideate and go, oh, I could put that there. Oh, I can put them in cyberpunk instead of this, their dreams, and it works the same way.
Yeah.
So it's very super open-ended. I think that, this one would be my favorite one that I've seen so far too. Yes, I love Gundam and Macross, but this has that extra juice, and who's to say I can't do that with this?
Conspiracy in space. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Your avatar is some sort of super robot, like it's an Ava instead. Oh god, no. What have I done? Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, not really,
Philip, god damn it.
Nice. Wearing my Eva shirt. I knew it was gonna happen.
But I think,
yes, I did it.
I think something else that definitely bears looking into is the templating that happens for this. So, series abilities.
Sure.
You get just a bunch of during a series creation, the protagonist will choose 1 series ability and 1 transcendent ability for the group to start with. Additional abilities are chosen whenever the series XP track is filled. And so you can get Curiouser. Each protagonist may add +1 action rating to forgive, express, or conceal. Looking for answers. You gain +1 die when investigating, passively.
Always good.
And the one about looking for the answers in a conspiracy, pretty strong. When a lead turns out to be a dead end, mark EXP.
Nice.
So like it gives you a series sheet to pull abilities from for all the players in each of these playbooks as well, which is cool.
Yeah, to help you focus your characters on the right, I don't want to say the right skills, but like sort of on the right path. Like some things are better than others depending on which type of a world you're in. So they give you these things to help you build it better. Because I mean, freeform is great, but sometimes you're like, I don't know what to do, guys. How do we make ourselves better? What's the most important thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
while I like being able to do it yourself, coming up with things, there is something to be said about the times when you're like, I don't know what makes us better. I don't know what this story is going to have in it. How do we level up? What is useful?
yeah.
You're not trying to be a power gamer, but getting a no use skill feels bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I do want to point out one of the series plays that I watched was Beneath a Rotting Sky, and this is largely, I think, regarded as the hard mode for the game.
Oh,
It
okay.
has a few very interesting pointers, which is series rule: devour blighted hearts. When you complete a mission, do not clear stress and transcendence as normal. To recover stress and transcendence, the group must devour blighted hearts. During Fallout, roll the mission's tier and consult the following chart. And then the chart says you get to clear a certain amount unless you devour a blighted heart. So,
And blighted hearts are
discuss what this looks like to a group, either while setting up the series or after each relevant mission. According to your taste, it might be a visceral and gory affair, or it might be a formal magic ritual, perhaps something else entirely.
okay.
But you have to accomplish
So,
something in order to get a recharge.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a Sailor Moon healing an enemy to devour their blighted heart, right? Either you have to literally rip it out of them, or you have to, moon whatever. I'm not as versed.
Or they can be something completely else too. Like you can
Could
make
be,
it as
yeah,
grim as you
absolutely.
want. Like there's an
You have to
alien entity
kill and
latched
yeah,
onto this once human, and in order
yeah.
to save them, you have to rip out this heart and you have to take it into
Mhm.
yourself. What does that mean for you? There's
Yeah.
but I just love the idea that it's like series rule. Remember how I said you recharge at the end of every session? No, you don't. You have to figure something out. And I think
It's a
yeah.
it's like a sin eater in the idea of
Yeah.
sin eaters. You have to consume something to take on the sins or the blight from someone else. Yeah. Okay.
And then there is
Interesting.
series rule: have a disagreement. Make a connection is replaced with have a disagreement. All abilities related to make a connection apply to have a disagreement instead. And then players mark stress when they make a connection.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That so like all of these really not only do they tonally have different feels, but they also have different feels mechanically, which I
Yeah.
really, really love. And we can't get into all of that. If we
No.
want to just
No.
do some jumping around, we want to talk about some of the playbooks again.
Yeah. So we left off right before Harmony,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds weird.
Mm-hmm.
At first glance, let me see.
Two
So,
people in one body.
yeah, two characters in such a harmonious relationship that they act together to accomplish things. So, your Wonder Twins, your I forget what they were in
This would
Teams with
be
Attitude.
Garnet from
Yes,
uh
Steven Universe.
Steve Universe, and this is also the Tiger Twins from my
Yep,
although they were more just kind of
two characters
oh
that
well, but they did merge into one, so
they did.
yeah. But yeah, that duality character that it happens a
Hmm.
lot. Yami Yugi and Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, yeah.
Very true.
An adult pharaoh in a tiny boy's body.
Mm, we'll just skip
Hooray!
that.
The cool thing that I saw about this is it's just straight up like one of the abilities is you can just take an additional action in each downtime because there's two of you.
Yeah.
You just do it. Yeah, makes sense. One of them, bonds of love, start each downtime with two links with yourself. Yeah,
Yep.
that's great. But then there's some weird stuff like the perfect pitch ability is your voice is polyphonic and eerily beautiful. Your allies can always hear you speak regardless of distance or other interference. When you
Yeah.
sing to inspire your allies or soothe the troubled hearts of foes, roll with 1 extra die.
Pretty cool.
That's a cool way. And you can see how it fits into any of those other settings, right? It almost in any way, right? You could be the team communicator. You can be Lin Min Mei from Macross if you
Yeah,
want, but
it's
2 of you.
but and I mean also it
Interesting.
speaks to duality. I
Mhm.
think we should relate this back to like I have some friends. We have some friends who are flux.
Yeah.
They are
Mhm.
they feel differently day to day. They are essentially
Mhm.
2 or more different people in the same body, and so it's
Yeah.
understanding and expressing of that. And I like that a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah, because none of this says that it is 2 actual different characters,
Right.
theoretically.
Yes.
None of this
2
says
people
that.
bound into a single form and identity.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Although
which
actually
is
it does
yeah.
say you are a relationship to people whose love has bound them into a single form. Should you
Yeah.
ever be separated, all actions are desperate until you're reunited. You roll +1 to gather info about relationships. So that is your core ability is you can split apart.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would love, because I don't think that it would be too hard to do to put those into one body, and then kind of fudge it a little bit so that you can have that feel of
Well,
the two souls in one body instead of 2 actual people.
well, I think
Right.
that's the point is that you're able
Sure.
to you are one body you are
Mhm.
2 minds, one body, but you can be split.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
is the concession. Kind of like there is an
Mhm.
episode, very early on episode in Steven Universe. I'm not really
Yeah.
spoiling anything, where Garnet splits into Sapphire and Ruby,
Mhm.
and they are separated from each other, and one of them just basically has a panic attack about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Uh,
that idea being very fun to play with, I would think.
oh yeah.
I think so.
So the next one is kind of like the name and the little blurb that I see is so straightforward,
Yeah.
and it can't possibly be, right? It's the Guardian, the honor-bound hero. Yeah, there's no way that that's that. There's
Kind
no
of
way.
kind of is.
Yeah.
Live by a code. Certain things you can and can't do, and you
I'm
want
a
to
paladin.
you want to protect people. You live by code, and it forbids you but your code forbids all but one of the following: violence, lying, admitting fault, asking for help. So
Yeah.
you have 3 of those you can never
Pick
do.
the one you're allowed.
If
Yeah.
one you can punch people, but you can't lie about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as you didn't violate your code, you didn't do that one thing, you get to mark experience.
That's a harsh.
If no. If none of the protagonists break your code.
Also
Yes.
mark
So you
series, yeah.
Oh yeah, is that mark series EXP. So it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Literally
don't
the
you want-
I don't
babysitter.
like to
work
fight.
together.
I don't like to fight. None of you should fight. It's like, we are in giant mechs against an alien army. What are you talking about?
And now some of you
Yeah.
at home might be saying, I've played with this player before, and I don't want to play with that player. But remember, this is a game about causing drama between the characters.
Yes.
This is a good thing to have as
Yeah.
an opposition point.
Yes.
Mhm.
Poison promises from a guardian or to a guardian would be fun.
Yes, absolutely. Just sitting there tempting them constantly.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know
another
what?
die. And that's
Since
the fun
you were
thing
the
is,
one who did it,
yeah.
you're the team. You're the lead of the team role. You're taking all the stress. If we got to do that, you're taking all the stress.
Oh man,
If
he
you're
would
right.
definitely be. They would definitely be the one to do that too. They'd be like, "Yeah, you're
Yes.
right."
You're right. Yeah.
When you eclipse,
Not
you're
lawful stupid.
I love this. When you eclipse, your shining example is not enough. This world is rotten to its core, corrupted by those too weak-willed to follow even the simplest rules. The slightest breach of your code must be met with uncompromising justice. Punish them until they repent. So you become hyper paladin,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then
That is a bad time.
Yeah, you escape when someone shows you something pure and beautiful, and you set aside your crusade. Which, by the way, whenever you go into Eclipse, you're supposed the book actually recommends read these out loud so that the other players know what to do.
Right.
Oh yeah, good. That's
Team
good
game.
thinking.
Yeah, and their baseline, yeah, is honor bound. Live by the code, die by the code. And then basically all of their things are like, I think they have the ability to share armor.
Yeah, share
You can protect
armor.
Yeah.
Uh,
They have the ability to reduce the effect of all harm by 1 level, but they still have it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you get bonuses to protecting gathering info. It's just, but a lot of this playset has to do with, especially the transcendent abilities, are just helping other people out. So,
Mm-hmm.
and if someone hits your friend, you hit them back twice as hard.
Yeah.
So,
As long as it doesn't break your code, or maybe if
Mhm.
you want to.
Well, just don't lie about why you're hitting them.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. You did this to yourself. That's a lie. I'm doing this to you right now.
Yeah.
Quit punching yourself. Quit punching yourself.
So then the next one is the outsider, the character with a shady past and a rivalry with one of their allies. So that's
Mhm.
built in.
Yeah, that's built in.
Mhm.
Special ability, something to prove. Choose one or more, and choose another protagonist to be your rival. You always have exactly one rival. That is the ability.
Yeah.
This rivalry
Yeah.
might be out loud in the open, two-way contest. It might be seething and one-sided. Talk to your prospective rival when you make this choice to be sure they are interested in holding up their end of this relationship. And then I think you have a bunch of modifiers that have to do with your rival.
Yeah. Jaded, you may expend your special armor to resist any consequence of your rival's actions or to act before your rival does.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing Vegeta in this one.
Um,
I mean, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that there are
anything
better
you do,
examples.
I do better. When you assist your rival, you grant them +2 die and take 2 stress. If you refuse your rival's help or they refuse yours, mark XP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and it's
Yeah,
1 die and 1 stress for assisting an ally normally. So you can just ratchet
gotcha.
that
Yeah,
up. Changes do not
This
apply when
very,
using links to help a friend. So links won't do it only if you take the stress. But then
I can definitely see this as one of those games where like death, like sort of like Cthulhu, where yeah, going mad, going crazy is part of the fun. Like, don't get too attached to your characters.
sure.
yeah,
Right.
this game, especially if you are playing in the rotting under a rotting sky, like it is very much there might be a revolving door. This is a
Sure.
very lethal game once you are at the point where you will not be regaining your transcendence as easily. Like imagine having 1 pip of transcendence to do 1 action because you are so worn out from the last 3 encounters that you've had. You haven't
Mhm.
had any delicious hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the eclipse. Your friends are leeches and sycophants who will never wield real power. The strong do not owe the weak an explanation. Pursue your goals in the most violent and cruel manner you can, doubly so if it would put your rival in their place.
God, it is Vegeta. It's just
It
Vegeta,
is.
the fucking character. I think my favorite ability that this one has though is because it cares so much about its rival in all of its other abilities.
Mhm.
The transcendent ability, Relentless. While transcended, each other protagonist counts as your rival.
Yeah.
Everybody, you hate them all.
Everybody is. I'm out for Ollie, y'all.
Yep.
I think.
Oh man.
Is the unlikely hero next?
Yes, it
Yep,
is.
last one.
Oh, I love this one. Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopeful, honest, and unproven, the unlikely hero does their best to keep up with their companions. They carry great potential within them, but will potential be released? They struggle with the weight of their destiny and bear the hope that they will one day change the world. Your starting ability is only mortal. This reads, you cannot transcend. And you cannot have special armor. You get an additional action during downtime. You get +1 die when rolling to make a connection. When only you can save one of your friends from fatal harm or severe consequence, and you do it, you can discard this ability and gain Hero's Destiny instead. Hero's Destiny reads, you have embraced your heroic destiny. You gain increased effect when fighting your most powerful foes. Gain +1 die when rolling while in Eclipse. You may only transcend when an ally suffers consequences from an action. Immediately mark 1 transcendent ability on your playbook when you gain this ability.
Because you can pick from any playbook. I see.
So it's a very customizable.
It's such a fun inversion, and it's definitely one of the archetypes. You know, the Steven universe from Steven Universe, the little guy in the group or the little girl in the group who just does not have the ability to push out power when they need to. Gohan,
it's
from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, exactly, Gohan.
That's pretty neat. So does the unlikely hero lose Hero's Destiny at some point? Or
they lose only mortal.
Only mortal. Okay.
They lose only mortal and gain Hero's Destiny.
Okay, I didn't know if it ever went back.
No, I guess once you transcend the once, basically, you can do it, and you keep gaining more powers, depending on when you keep doing what you need to do.
So
where was it?
It says here, even in Hero's Destiny, though, you may only transcend when an ally suffers consequences from an action. So someone else has to fail in a way that triggers you into going transcend.
Yeah, how do you get more transcendent abilities then?
You
immediately mark 1.
Yeah, everybody gets to start with 1, and then it's part of your playbook leveling up.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, the unlikely hero. When you exchange only mortal for Hero's Destiny, you immediately gain 1 transcendent ability from another playbook. Once you have Hero's Destiny, playbook advances may be spent to gain additional transcendent abilities.
Got you. Okay. So once you unlock it, you can build it, but you still can't trigger it until something bad happens to a friend.
Basically putting yourself at a disadvantage. It's playing a wizard. You put yourself at a disadvantage early game so that late game you can have all the good abilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, fellas.
Am I seeing wrong? Do they only have max of 3 transcendence as well?
Everybody does.
No, other people have 4.
I mean, the outsider has 3.
Oh, not abilities. I mean, transcendence actions.
Pips. Yeah.
Pips. Yeah. So they can only do 3 in general. Like, since you transcend and then you have 3 actions, they have 3 actions, but the Guardian has 4 and everybody else has 4. So you even fall out of transcendent earlier.
That might
be interesting.
Is that a misprint? Let me check.
I don't know. That seems that I saw that and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes
sense because you're weaker at it than everybody else, technically.
Yeah.
But not.
You burn brighter for shorter.
Yeah. And also, something to point out is the thing that you get from Hero's Destinies, you gain +1 die when rolling. Oh, when rolling Eclipse. Sorry, not rolling in Eclipse. So it's harder for you to fall into Eclipse.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah. And you gain increased effect when fighting your most powerful foes, which just basically means you get to increase what your result would be. So that's another thing. Baseline, powered by the not powered by the apocalypse, Forged in the Dark and/or Blades in the Dark. It has the risky difficulty. It has the difficulty range, and then it also has the effect range of what you're trying to do. And so, each of these can be modified up and down on basically a sliding scale to determine how difficult or how good of an action you have. You can also modify to say things like, well, this would be more difficult, but it would have a higher reward, whereas this would be less difficult, but you would only get like normal effect. You would not get increased.
Mm-hmm.
As the unlikely hero, you always gain increased effect when you're fighting a more powerful foe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah,
Helping you do
there
better.
is still so much that we could talk about this
Oh my goodness,
series. I do want to go into just the interesting features. Basically the things that I listed as like stuff that I think is what sets us apart, specific mechanics, things worth stealing. The series playbooks are so detailed. I love every little bit of them. They are their own little miniature RPG inside this bigger RPG.
Mm-hmm.
And just like
Russian nesting dolls.
You're reading through this book and you're like, okay, Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon, and then you go, mechs? But they don't have any mechanics that they have mechanics that support the mechs. Okay. Oh, I get a flagship? Hold up.
Yeah.
You know? The base building is a large aspect in the Forge in the Dark system, and I think that they definitely do a great job of like giving you similar but still different enough to be mechanically interesting things for whether you have a home base or you have a flagship or you have the conspiracy chart or you have whatever you have.
Yeah, I think those are really cool. Like, I don't want to say mini games because I mean it's the point of the game, but like that another little thing that you can sort of see and track and help you know where you're going in your path, rather than I guess other games where it's just like, yeah, you're there. There's big bad guy, Alpha, but you got to go through his generals before that and his, commanders before that, and it's like, okay, how many commanders have we fought? Okay, so now we got to get to the general. Is it generals now? How many generals are there? Well, you don't know. Okay, well, we'll just fight some generals then. And oh, now's the big boss time.
Yeah.
And this one has like, oh, we got to do this, that.
This game definitely says, hey, we're gonna give you some structure. Here's your season layout. Things are going to progress. You're going to have at most 15 sessions because the track always increases 1. You will probably have closer to 7 to 8. Now, I would say probably 8 to 12, depending on which version of the game you're playing.
Mm-hmm. And how many of you succeed? How many times you fail fighting?
Right.
Yeah. God, I love that so much. Sorry, I'm just looking through all the stuff. What is does the Maze of Dream have anything but the conspiracy? No. Basically, your base building in Maze of Dreams is adversarial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody else, I get a boat, I get a hideout, I get a bunch of people who want to kill me.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm learning who wants to kill me.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me because I think, looking at the transcendent identity is what I want to say. So in Sea of Stars, it's an engine and it's a mech, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are also kind of not normal.
Mm-hmm.
They are not just machines. They have emotions and this and that. And there's upgrades, right? And there's upgrades that can help the engines like recover and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no such thing in Maze of Dreams.
No.
You don't get that. It's just you have less bad happen.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild. I would love to see the difference because I would guess that this is another one of the higher difficulty ones, right?
More than likely, I do think on a Sea of Stars is up there. I think the baseline difficulty. Let me just see my 4. I believe baseline is Brink of the Abyss. And then you have Maze of Dreams, which Maze of Dreams, honestly, you just have to set Maze of Dreams aside and say, you play different than all of the other children.
Yeah.
Because you're making me think constantly.
Yeah.
But you're not making it that much harder for me to do. I'm not going to lose. I'm just, but the conspiracy weighs down on you constantly. So even if it doesn't look like on paper, it's as bad as like Rotting Sky. Rotting Sky is you put that one at the top. That one is the most difficult one.
Yeah.
And then I think Sea of Stars is like right underneath because of the damageable and difficulty repair and things like that for your mechs, because I believe that the mechs basically function with the same kind of pseudo recovery that you can potentially have for Rotting Sky. And then Maze of Dreams is just, you're going to be frustrated the entire time because the conspiracy will constantly be ticking boxes that make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Yep. Giving you negatives to everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder, because I was talking about Maze of Dreams with mech like Ava, they could just be an avatar.
Yeah.
Could they be an engine? Could you just mix and match? I don't know that would completely work because of the healing mechanic from the engines, like you're saying. You might need those bonuses to make it through, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder.
Because you start to, there are abilities like series abilities. So there may be a series ability in the Sea of Stars that like allows you to do something, but if you're just playing the Maze of Dreams without that series ability, it could really slow you down.
Yeah. For example, if you were ever playing the Maze of Dreams and you didn't have the ability to pick a series ability that gives you +1 die to all investigation rolls, you need to keep investigating to find the conspirators and flush them out of the Venn diagram. Like, if you can't do that efficiently, investigation is like so much more of a core mechanic for Maze of Dreams than it is for all the others.
Right.
Yeah. Although I guess there is an outside influence, which is an ability that you can pick from another source. So theoretically, you could, you could pull something if you wanted to be Maze of Dreams, but you're with the piloting mechs, you could grab one of those and bring it in.
Yeah.
And of course, you could also hack it and be like, we're gonna, as players, let's pick 5 things. We're gonna combine these 2 together. Which ones do you think are best? And everyone just sort of picks what they want.
Yeah.
Oh, also worth noting in Maze of Dreams, the series rule: make a connection is replaced with share an intimate moment. So you're trying to get your friends to rank 10.
Oh my.
All abilities related to making a connection apply to share an intimate moment instead. In downtime, you may share an intimate moment with another protag. Describe the circumstance of your encounter, how you are vulnerable in this moment. Ask them, do you share this moment or hold yourself apart? If they share it with you, roll plus die. If they hold themselves apart, mark EXP. So neither of them is bad. Roll a suitable action. The other player assigns links as they choose between your characters. And it is 4, 3, or 2. Or if you critical, you get 5.
Yeah.
And the other player gets to decide.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah.
It's
the clocks.
Yeah.
So I know Blades in the Dark is big on clocks. Other systems are like, yeah, you could
other
do
systems
a clock
wish
to
they were big on
simulate.
clocks.
Oh, your team is trying to chase down a car. Okay, make a clock for catching the car.
Yeah.
However many successes. And then it's like, okay, or just set a number, like a skill check, a skill challenge or whatever.
Well, I mean,
once you hit 4, you get it,
But I mean, that's still essentially doing the same thing. It's just the clock has numbers on it. Fill in little charts. Wedges. That's all. I mean, it's all enumeration at the end of the day. It's just clocks are fun to draw on things and scribble in.
Yeah.
and it's thematic, and also it made Blades in the Dark not edgy, but I mean, it's already edgy enough on its own, but it makes it it makes it so that you have a more easily understandable visual representation instead of just seeing a 5 and being like, what was that out of again? And they're seeing 5 of 8.
What do I need?
Which just looks dumb. You see a nearly filled in pie chart and you go, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
That is almost a delicious pie, and I do not want any right now. But yeah, I would say that navigating clocks is definitely one of the pitfalls of Blades or this, is if you don't know how to use clocks correctly, like that shuts down such a huge mechanic for these games in particular. Because clocks are freaking important. It's how you do anything in a game like Girl by Moonlight. There is no action without clocks because there's no resolution to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can say I'm going to work towards a goal. It's like, cool. Well, what's the goal? Let's determine a clock level, and then we're going to set that clock spinning. And then it's just a good way to easily visually represent all the different things you're trying to achieve in a situation, and also for the director to set against you as, for example, one of the things was characters were trying to find something in an old abandoned house. And there was a clock that appeared that was basically for this house is going to start falling apart as you start, rummaging through it. So you want to make sure you get this clock filled before this clock fills. If this clock fills, it's going to be real hard to fill this one because the place is going to start collapsing around you.
Yeah. And then players could decide whether they wanted to spend their turn investigating or repairing, slowing down the breaking of the house or speeding up the investigation.
Or if you're the time traveler, one of the times where the director's like, it's going to increase by 3, you grab them gently by the wrist. Nope. You tell them
no, it's not today.
I saw it in the future. I hit the one thing and it's better now.
Yeah. Nope, it's good. No, I got it.
Yeah, I think this could be a great game when you have very RP minded players.
Right.
Absolutely. I think it's 4 great games all piled into one, and Andrew Gillis could not decide what they wanted to make, and so they just ended up making all of them.
Yeah.
And honestly, it looks like all of them to me slap. Like these all look like things I want to do. So, but yeah, so bringing this back to us, like this is the thing where I would dearly enjoy being able to try to somehow fit our Teens with Attitude game into the mold of this. Because I feel like this is more mechanically interesting than Teens with Attitude, and you all are already max level. And the coolest part about that, going back to interesting features I like about this stuff, is that this game says we begin in season 2. It says, please play this game with the premise that you've already had season 1.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't really understand that.
So here's the idea. The reason that they say it is because season 1, the first 5 episodes or 6 episodes, depending on how many protagonists you have, are boring and do not involve everyone.
Yeah, you're establishing usually. Yeah.
You have to do a lot of establishing, which, I mean, we shotgunned in Teens with Attitude, but we still had to do a little bit. Yeah. But we were able to do the backstory stuff, which is all of you already know each other. Here's how you know each other. You've had a bunch of background stuff. And this game also does that with the pick a player X, pick a player Y, I believe. So, or pick a rival.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good. You have one person who you are basically their own custom built bully. Please go bully that person or have them bully you, however you want to play it. But this game basically says you're already in full swing. There's no reason for you to do a bunch of establishing. That's what session 0 is for. Once you've done all of that, we are not in season 1 of your story. We are in at least season 2. You've overcome and had some backstory filled out with these other characters. you are now at the point where your writers are able to expound on those ideas and move forward with them. You do not have to set up these establishings.
Okay, that makes sense.
And also, we already played season 1 of Teens with Attitudes. We don't have to do it again. Just saying.
Yeah. Pull back the same characters into a different world somehow. They got shotgunned into space, and now they're in.
Oh God, we just do
their
the thing
mechs
in
are now in
Sailor
space.
Moon where we're like, well, we can't progress the story forward because the manga's not done. Reset the world, everybody. Now there's aliens with a plant.
Yeah.
Which I'm talking mad shit about, but season 2 of Sailor Moon was actually pretty good. But yeah, like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I think it would be a lot of fun, and I think it might be easier as a one shot. One shot's not the right word, but as like a one season to bring someone into, since it gives you so much more information. Whereas with Teens with Attitude, you had to write all the bad guys, all the story arcs, the missions, all that kind of stuff. This one kind of gives it to you. While yes, you have to come up with names and PCs and stuff like that, it would be a little bit easier, I think, for someone to sort of take over and be like, yeah, sure, I'll run this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's true too. I would definitely be down for that. I wouldn't mind playing in a game like this too. It's just like Charles said, there's so much delicious buttons and knobs and levers for the director to use in this system. It's just like, oh, you built this with me in mind. Thank God.
Right.
I thought I just had to be the mother brain again. And this is so much nicer where you give me a sheet that says, hey, do you need a premise for the next session? Roll a d6. Here's a list.
Yeah, think about the more important things, like how you're going to draw out the RP, what the conspiracy means, right, in that one, or why this is happening, how you breadcrumb them, not the structure. Structure's already set.
Yeah.
You're filling a lot of this blanks at the beginning,
Yeah. So I really, I don't know. I just keep saying, but I was very happily, as I saw the first set of this come out and everything happens, everything as it happened and like playtest, I was like, oh, this looks very intriguing. It's got all it's another one of those. It takes all the really noodly fun good parts of all the different narrative games and it squishes them all together and tries to make a game out of it. And you would usually say, like with Daggerheart, it's like there's no way this works, but you look at it and it is a little heavy. I'm gonna do Thorns now. This game is very heavy. The being able to understand how the attributes and actions work is probably going to take a lot more than just roll to kick ass, which is the Power by the Apocalypse equivalent. But if you have a place to track all of those things and have them all written down correctly, this system, this RPG seems like such a great system.
Right.
That just will sing on its own with the amount of flavor and juice and story that you can milk from it.
Very evocative words. Yeah.
Gotta milk that juice out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Gotta milk that.
I agree.
Juice.
I think that.
No.
Why would you? You thought it. I see that, but why would you then just say it? Anyway.
Sorry. Please continue.
Yeah. So I think that the one of the downsides might be a thorn is that the session 0 being so heavy, people don't always have that much information ready about either their characters or the world or even like the game they want to play, right? They may not be sure. And so with this game, from what it seems like, when you start your world, the amount of stuff that you have to come up with I think could be very overwhelming. I know for Teens with Attitude, it was literally just like step 1, pick your whatever you're going to morph into or whatever. pick this, and it was like 4 things, you know, like pick your color, pick your animal, pick your base, or something like that, right? And that's how we got our abandoned cereal factory. I don't know.
Yes, abandoned cereal factory. Yep.
Whereas this one seems like you're gonna have a whole lot more, and then once you've then created session 0, or sorry, once you've created the world that you're gonna be playing in, then you pick the characters. So not only do you have to be like, hey, we're gonna play the Maze of Dreams. In the Maze of Dreams, I think that I should be a time traveler, right? Because I think this and this will be good with that. Versus like, oh, we're doing, Sea of Stars. Well, then I want to be the stranger, or whatever. Trying to figure out like what character you think that you can play in the world that you just made up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think
Like
that could be cool.
There are many games where session 0 is suggested but not mandatory. This game is definitely one of those. No, you need to figure your shit out.
Yeah, you should start and think about it and really set that in stone before you even start. Yeah, before you even think about the characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And depending on how important the links or the connections between players are, again, that's things that you have to. Some people like to develop their characters as they go. Their history, their backstory isn't set in stone until something happens, and then it's like, oh, it would be really cool if my parents were deceased. I never said it before because this thing, but now for my character, it would make a lot of sense. Like that's why they act this way, type stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, you may not think of all of that at session 0.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness to this system, it does for the different like building parts, it gives you a lot of good like questions, prompts, things to that nature. But it also it asks you a lot of questions to answer. Like like down to just it doesn't ask you for a name. It asks you if you're an outsider for a fierce name, an arrogant name, and then your true name is a rebellious name, a villainous name. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely like I guess it's flipping it on its head. I gave it roses for being a system that's willing to tell you this is what I'm about. But it is also a system where if you want to come in and just let stuff oh god. Grab things correctly because I'm making my face go extremely bloomy. Looking at a sea of white. When you go into this system and you're like, I think I want to just play it loose. This game is not that. This game is very much okay, but you have to pick a playbook. Okay, well, I don't really care. I'll pick the 5th out of 7. It's like, okay, and now you have to pick 20 more things.
Yeah.
And suddenly someone's like, why didn't I just build a D&D character? But I at least find this more compelling than D&D, whether because I've built so many D&D characters or because or because I find the choices more interesting at an RP level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
because of the role play.
Mm-hmm.
D&D is I think D&D is built around the fighting, the combat. That's where all of your skills lie. And you kind of have to make up the RP as you go.
Yeah.
And the fighting gets super monotonous after just 1 or 2 campaigns.
Yeah.
We've all done the fighting. We all know what the fighting is. So this is something different. It's like the RP is different every time.
Yeah.
So everybody knows like, oh, we're going into battle. Okay, the barbarian's going to do this. The paladin's going to crit smite. And the cleric's going to go, I heal. I don't know.
Usually they're going to go, I'm going to inflict wound. What are you?
Thank God I don't even know that spell made it. I forget.
Good question. It can't possibly be the same, I'm sure.
No.
I mean, it could.
I mean, it could be, but it's still, even if it is the same, it's still technically just flat worse than healing someone at this point, because
Yeah.
healing's the 2D as opposed to 1.
Mhm.
But yeah, was there anything? I really love the eclipse mechanic. I love the
Yeah.
idea that you get to make your character and then you get to make their dark side.
Yeah.
And like, rather than like in a game like Monster Heart, where your dark side is basically just given to you wholesale, this one's like, no, get some aesthetics, figure it out, understand what your character likes, and now spin that on its head for this. Do X, Y, and Z. And the I think the more interesting part of it, even besides just that, is that being an eclipse is not like necessarily just a transcendent form, though I'm sure it has a really
Mhm.
sick transcendent form. It is a thing that persists beyond transcendence, and you're still in a rut that you need to basically be saved from.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And someone else has to
And
be the one to do it for you.
and it's not like you don't become useless when it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like
In fact, you
it's not
become
like
more
it's not
powerful
like
technically.
dying. Mhm. Yeah, it's a phase where it's not like, oh, you've essentially died. You're half as useful until someone can save you.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like, no, you're just playing a different way now to do these other things.
Yeah.
Chance to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, I had another question, but I can't remember what it was.
Is it about a character?
No, it was a thorn I was thinking of.
Mm.
Well, you asked something at the beginning, but I asked you to hold it until we were actually talking on
Oh,
camera.
does this one have more? Are I don't want to phrase the question. So the play sets, the 4 play sets that this
Mhm.
game has,
Yeah.
are similar in my mind to the 3 play sets that Teens with Attitude had,
Yeah.
which was Power Rangers, Planeteers, and Animorphs.
Right.
But those were just like it was very similar.
Yeah.
Like they were all just like a very loose idea of why you people are friends. And so my question was, which one is more common to the either Powered by the Apocalypse or Forged in the Dark's settings?
I
To
would
have a really detailed book?
I would say that I think that Blades in the Dark has like a hideout modifier, but Blades in the Dark is actually just in a city. There is a base campaign
Mm-hmm.
that you play.
Mhm.
It does not have different, like, this is, I think, one of the things that actually does set uh Girl by Moonlight
Go by
apart
Moonlight. Yeah.
from all the others is these series
Yeah.
playbooks are very detailed and very
Yeah.
Oh
much
yeah.
a true full modifier to how you play
Mhm.
these games.
They're almost campaign settings without the setting,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That you have to build, but the structure is there.
Yeah.
Like you would go to Strahd and think of Strahd things. For this, you would be like, okay, so we're gonna do Mirror of Dreams, and you would know what that meant, right? That means this whole situation has changed, just like Curse of Strahd or any of the other bigger adventures, right? That bolt on to fifth edition,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty unique to just this. So
Mm.
I think so.
'cause yeah,
Um
this and Teens with Attitude are the only two Powered by the Apocalypse things that I've seen that have actual like playbooks and play
Yeah.
sets.
and not only that, but I love the series EXP that you gain
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and being able to pick out like base abilities or other power sets that you can go with.
Hmm.
Yeah, group bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because another powered by the apocalypse that is somewhere off in reality, not in front of my green screen, is Avatar Legends. And they
Mm.
do a bit of this kind of social slash emotional things, right? You go into a kind of eclipse as well
Mhm.
in it, but their adventures are adventures, right? They're not a straight up chain. I think there is one coming, right? I think the spirit world is coming, and that should have different rules, but it wouldn't be a campaign setting for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but not in the way that this is.
Well, and that is to, I would say, is to Powered by the Apocalypse. What this is to
It
Blades
is.
in the Dark. And I would
Yeah.
say,
Okay.
I mean, even if you don't want to play a magical girl game because you're mad that the book says magical girls on it,
Yeah.
whatever.
It specifically says you don't have to be a woman. You don't have to be
Yes,
girls. You
I
can
know.
be anything.
But Philip, we all know that guy. I'm not gonna play
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
game. Look at it. It looks like sissies. It's like, okay, go play Warhammer or something. I don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
That's really rude to
Oh,
Warhammer
that was-
players. Unless you play only Imperium and you actually don't play it ironically, in which case I meant every word I said.
Take nothing back.
No, that was the other thing I was going to say was do you think how much they push, like how much like queer and marginalized people are like shown in this? Do you think that's going to have a negative effect on people? Like people being like, "Ooh, I'm not sure if that's for me."
So I would say this as someone personally who I don't identify outwardly as queer, but I am certainly queer. And that is something that I've always felt is kind of one of those weird things about like feeling whether or not you're allowed in a space.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that vibe if that's what you're going for. I
Yeah.
think that as long as you can be honest with a character that does have an aspect to themselves that is outside of the norm, and I think that even though saying traditionally queer is a little bit of a strange way of turn of phrase, however, I'll say traditional queerness versus just, we're a bunch of nerdy anime kids. We're not exactly mainstream.
Oh yeah.
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 We play tabletop games. We revel in the communities of people that we care for, and in so many ways are so very outliers and outsiders in many different places that would be the social norm. I feel that has some bearing to this. And I do also, just because I would want to honor what Andrew, what they said in the book itself, the fact that they say this game cannot be removed from being queer, that it is the point of understanding yourself, discovering a part of yourself that you either hide from the world or hide from yourself or have trouble reconciling with. Like the original way that I wanted to play this game was with I was hoping to be able to get a game together of 3 friends of mine and run this for them because they are all queer, and 2 of them have since I wanted to run this game found themselves a little better, and I'm very happy for them for that. And I feel like this game, if nothing else, can be a great tool of discovery for especially younger folks who do not necessarily know where they are in life. And I think that we always find ourselves through play, and this game I think uniquely has so many good tool sets in it to be like, oh, I kind of like that. So like
Yeah. And having the people you're playing with, like theoretically they are real friends.
Yeah.
Helping their character, helping your character deal with emotional issues, with gender questions or sexuality questions. Can if the person themselves don't know the answers, they can be helped along, and find community and comfort in that. Find out who their true self is with actual help from their friends.
And honestly,
Even
like
if it's not,
even if you don't think of yourself as queer, even if you aren't if you don't identify as such, we're all a little queer. And until we play around in spaces that allow us to find those parts of ourselves, we won't.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
This is a game about self-discovery and being able to go into that as honestly as possible, rather than just saying, I mean, you're perfectly within your right to say this game is not for me because of that.
Yeah.
I get it. People have to be what they're comfortable with, but I would
Mhm.
urge as many people as possible to try this game and to play it with that mindset of discovering something or having your character discover something about themselves at the
Right.
very least. And perhaps that
Yeah.
ends up translating for you as well.
Mhm.
Even if it's not for who you are personally, you may have a better understanding of other people,
Right.
become more tolerant
Yeah.
of people that you may not really know a whole lot about, and a chance to learn more.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my feeling on the matter. And I think it's one of those things where it's just because it I don't think that was meant as like a you have to throw your wrist a certain way in sachet
Yeah.
and say
Sure.
witty retorts with a girl please
Mhm.
voice. It's what it's saying is
Mhm.
you have to understand the transformative and
Empowering.
the empowerment of being supported by a community of people who are willing to accept, if not just you, then at least your character for who they really
Mhm.
are on the inside, even though they might not show that outwardly. And that's really fundamental to the game. You cannot divorce that from the game, especially considering how great of a tool it is for understanding and drama and tragedy and having it. The more tragic something is, the more hopeful it is. I think is a really honest truth about things that are written, things that are spoken, things that are shown. Is
Mhm.
Yeah.
without great sadness, you cannot have great hope. Because
100%.
otherwise that hope is just okay. Well, yeah, of course that's going to succeed. Of course, Naruto's going to punch the man until he's friends with him.
Oh yeah.
That's what Naruto does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's his ninja way.
until you have, oh, they're coming out with more Madoka 10 years later, and everyone's like, they delayed it again. My damn heart.
Mhm.
Because I need to see these sad girls be maybe just a little bit happier this time. That's actual hope, I think.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what this kind of game gives.
Very cool.
So anyway, I had a lot of feelings about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tabletop can be pretty
No, I agree.
pretty honest and interesting, I think. And
Mhm.
I
Charles,
think so.
yeah. Charles, I think you always are a strong proponent for the mechanics should reinforce the tone. And the mechanics
Yes.
should
Yeah.
absolutely reinforce the RP. And I think that this is definitely a game that does that in spades.
Yeah, and you can really see it. Like the reason that I always rankle when people are like, crunchy system. Yeah, but the crunch of the system is what makes your character. And like the RP does too, but they're one and the same. Like this is something that I once again one day will have a whole show about it. Your character is both the technical and the RP. And when a system can do both, which I think this one can because there's a lot of technical to the RP, it makes a very well fleshed out character that those abilities are parts of the character, right? Like I feel like, just to talk about another show on the channel, I was like, okay, well, we're going to play Splinters of Faith. We've got a bunch of people. I'll make a bard. I've never played a bard. I'll just be kind of a support. And as I thought about it, I was like, okay, so this is this character. Oh, they'll be an artist, not a music artist. Okay. And then the abilities that I picked completely made the character. I could not imagine this character without the ability to create things, to animate things. And knowing that the crunch of the system made the character who the character is very important. And the crunch of the system seems to be an RP, so it's not even really that crunchy, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not like, oh, I've got to know this and that, and I have to have how many how many actions do I have? What's this like? Action economy. How much damage can I do? What's the best weapon to use? It's not that. It's the how do I use what I have to further the team, and that's still crunch. I'm
Hmm.
gonna have to
Hmm.
tell you that's still crunch,
Yeah.
but it's in a different way, and it leads more easily into RP. Because yes, okay, I'm a warrior or I'm a fighter and I have great weapon mastery. Okay, that doesn't give you a whole lot. It could, you could, but it usually doesn't, right?
Yeah.
What do I pick this turn? I made my strength go up by 1. Okay, but some of those still do work in that way. I am thinking things like Actor, the feat from 5th edition.
Love
Get
that
a little
feat.
charisma, have some stuff, right?
Yep.
But
Hmm.
it builds your character out level by level. And I think you feel that almost immediately in this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
I'll get
And
off my soapbox.
no, that's great. And honestly, only further because like in order to level something in one of your attributes, you have to complete the attribute EXP tracker.
Right.
So
Hmm.
it's very much one of those like what I remember from Star Ocean Second Story. It's like I have to use double slash how many times to get the force strike? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So the that was my closing thoughts. And Charles, I feel like that was your closing thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Philip, did you have any more closing thoughts for the game?
I think it seems amazing. I think you said the person who made this, Andrew, put a lot of love and attention into details, and yeah, it shows. They knew what they wanted, I think, and they made it.
Yeah.
And so I like what they have. I think it would be a lot of fun to play, and I'm interested in trying to do this, trying to do it justice, and to see where it would go.
Cool.
I'm excited for it. And I
Awesome.
hope the rest of the community is too. I hope there's more.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I know it's sort of an independent type thing, and I hope it gets some traction.
I do know that just because I always like to talk about it is produced by Evil Hat Games. Andrew Gillis is there, the person who made it, and you can find it on Evil Hat's store to buy either physical or digital copies. I encourage people to go out and get it. It's a gorgeous book with gorgeous layout and beautiful art, and there's 4 different distinct styles to the art, or even more than that, really, that all have like you can tell that there was some art direction that went into this that was pretty damn amazing. Um and then besides that, there are a bunch of guides out for the game now. There hadn't been previously, but I would encourage people to go out and watch people's previews, walkthroughs of guides. I would also encourage, because I really did enjoy the production quality and everything of Magi RPG did a Eclipse Heart, I think is what they called it. Um,
Hmm.
and that was their actual play of this system, and watching through it helped me understand quite a few things about the system, but also I think they really just knocked it out of the park with the interpersonal interaction. I think that the director of the show, they did a bunch of flashbacks that were one of another player who is not actively in the current storyline, and like something had happened to them, but they kept having like these flashbacks like just show up out of nowhere for that they had pre-recorded. It was a lot of fun to piece together stuff, and I had a good time with
It's
it.
really cool.
So I recommend that. I of course would love us to try to get this to table at some point. It would be a lot of work, obviously, um, because this game does expect you to put in work to it. That is something I can say about it. But other than that, yeah, I hope if at all we've done anything, we've encouraged somebody out there maybe through this to go and give this game a look. I really do think that it's got a lot of great potential in it, and I think
Hmm.
that if you don't like one of the ways to play it, cool, there's 3 others. So
Yep.
Hmm.
And use it as a template and make another one.
yeah. And
Yeah.
even
Why
if
not?
you don't play this specific game, steal things from it. There's so many good things to steal from
Yes.
this. The templating of how to set up a session in
Hmm.
this is so well done. You will get vibrant, invigorating sessions, which I feel like I got out of Teens with Attitude, just basically
100% you
knowing
did.
the bones of how this was supposed to work before it came out. Being able to organize yourself into sessions that are episodes for a season. I think it's very important to have like rising action, falling action, things like that you're able to put your characters through. It keeps them on track. It keeps the players interested. It makes it so that there's enough interpersonal interaction that drama is created. And when you create drama in a game, you are able to make your players more invested. And all of that's just good stuff. So yeah, either way. Good game. I think I could push it a little bit for 2 more minutes just to get us to 3 hours, but I think this is surprisingly one of the shortest shoot the shits that we've done. So
I think so.
I think so, yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think that's because I have the conceit that we're not going to be able to talk about this whole game. It would take.
No.
It'd be easier to just play it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be easier to run a 4-hour session and then we'd hit everything.
Yeah, learn by doing.
So
yep. Yeah. I'm going to release everybody screaming into the night, but for anybody who sees this, thanks for watching us. We are Plus One Shot. I'm James, that's Charles, that's Philip. We have other stuff that goes on this channel. We're running a...
We have D and Diablo
tomorrow night?
Tomorrow. Correct. D and Diablo tomorrow night.
So...
and then we will... which is the Saturday, the 26th. And then, unfortunately, the next weekend, we will be off due to a convention. But yeah.
Then perhaps...
we have just the... I would say we have the two games. We have the D and Diablo, and we have the Splinters of Faith actual campaigns, and then we have yours, Shoot the Shit.
Yep.
Our Shoot the Shit. We all do this. You did a city list one.
Yeah, we do it.
Charles is gonna do Draw Steel.
Draw Steel. Yeah, we'll have to have an update. How to make that not take forever. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we just play it instead, then
sure. I mean, we could just do that.
Could just do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I vote for anyway. Dibs on the word.
You're like, I need to be the tactician. Yeah.
Looks so good.
Yeah. In 2 weeks we wouldn't be. Wait, no. 1 week we wouldn't be playing Splinters of Fate.
No.
But in 2 weeks, maybe we could play Draw Steel. If not, then maybe right before U.S. Thanksgiving on the 22nd.
Oh yeah.
You mean right before patch for Final Fantasy XIV? We're not getting into that.
It's probably right after. I think the patch is going to come out on the 19th, and then, unfortunately, Ultimate on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That's what everybody's predicting. So that'll be fun. But yeah, this channel is Plus One Shot, and we are Plus One Shoot the Shit. And with that, you are all released for another 2-ish weeks until I trap you again with promises of cheese and wine or some other thing. I don't know.
Sometimes I feel like I wish I could be a Muppet and just like throw my hands up all like, like without any bones, just like just go screaming off into the night.
Yeah. All right.
Or in this like a MST3K.
Yeah, just the little shadow guys. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you again real soon. Hopefully playing some games. Everybody have a great night.
Night.
Bye.